Okay, hi. I had to repeat everything because I actually streamed on Twitch for a minute there. Today, we've got a good treat today. We have Ben Chu mentioning Wackadoodle in the sidebar transcripts, and I actually had a lot of fun reading the transcripts last night. It was pretty funny. And then additionally, Elaine Bredahoff tries mentioning the gummy bears, but I think it's hard to tell in the transcripts because, we got to see the footages, but I think Roddenborn talks over her. So Elaine never really got to complain to Judge Penny about the gummy bears. If you guys remember, the gummy bears are from the Depp side of the team. They're eating candy, they're eating gummy bears. And I think people mentioned at some point that Ben Chu was leaving gummy bears for Amber Heard's lawyers. Now, I don't know if they were getting annoyed of that. Possibly, probably, because the things in the courtroom was pretty tense, I would say, between the two parties. But we're gonna finish up the transcripts today. We got quite a few days, and actually a lot of sidebars. A lot of sidebars happened during the rebuttals. I guess that makes sense. So we're gonna have, I don't know how many days we're gonna go over. Quite a few days, but at least the last couple of days. One was like the verdict day. The day before that was verdict watch, and then before that was closing arguments. Hello, hi Soldier Mom. How are you doing today? How's it going? How are you guys all doing today? Today's Friday. I don't know why I thought today was Monday. What did I do yesterday? Oh, I did. Okay. I was gonna say, guys, happy Monday. I don't know. My days are completely off. Oh, that's embarrassing. Oh, I think my window browser just shut off. Hold on, I need to pull this up. It's hot. Get a fan. All right, go dunk your head in the sink. Stick your head in the refrigerator. I used to do that as a kid. Or actually, anyone ever work at a restaurant before and then have like one of those walk-in freezers? I remember this one time when I worked at a restaurant, the AC broke and it was 90 degrees outside. It was hot. We had swamp ass. Dude, I would just run into the walk-in freeze and just like cool out in there. It was one of the best things ever. You're catching me live. Well, hello. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for catching the live. I need to zoom up the chat actually because you guys are like tiny little ants right now. It's really hard to see. But yeah, I'm excited to read and finish the sidebars finally. I know I was supposed to finish it probably last week, but I had things to do. I had things to do and things to work on too. Let me just pop this out really quick. You're escaping the Arizona heat in Oregon. Are you doing the Oregon Trail? Gonna do a vacation? I really liked Arizona. Arizona's really nice. Nice, clean suburbs area. We stayed in this area called, I think, Chandler or something at this Airbnb. But oh my God, the Airbnb in Arizona was so strict. They're very strict about AC use. Hi, Kurt. How are you doing today? How's it going? Hello, happy Friday. Oh, you're going to the beach. Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah, I'm debating on going to Corgi Beach Day. They're going to do a... I think it's in Huntington Beach this year or something like that. But it's like a SoCal Corgi Beach Day. And I used to go all the time back in the day. And I kind of want to go because, I don't know. We used to go back in the day when it was like Shiro and Steve in San Francisco. So I kind of miss those days. You love Huntington? I've never been to Huntington Beach before. I've only been to Long Beach. They have this like little small section out area where they let the dogs run around and stuff like that. But yeah, I haven't been to Huntington. I drove through Laguna, but I've never been there before. Oh, you're in Chandler. Yeah, fucking Chandler's so beautiful. I love it. It's just too hot for me, but it's so beautiful. Like the neighborhoods are really nice. And I think it's just because, it reminds me of back home on the East Coast. And it's just like suburbs, the roads are really easy to drive through. It's not chaotic. There's no illegal, what's it called? Oh, unsafe left turns everywhere in the middle of Koreatown, which I hate. But yeah, Chandler's really nice. The butchers at the grocery store, they have the coolest job in town. Why do you say that? Because it's so cool right now? I don't know, man. What's up, folks? Hi, Slug. How are you doing today? How's it going? Guess very hot. We love Chandler. Hi, Nacho. Wait, Nacho, how was waking up at 3 a.m. this morning, you degen, just to play the Mechabot game? Do you enjoy it? The streamer I watch is actually streaming it right now, but I haven't watched any of that. But I hope you're enjoying it. They work in the cooler. I suppose so. But then you got to go outside of the cooler too, And then you got to do some other stuff. You didn't? Wait, what happened? I thought you were going to wake up early. What? You just slept? LOL. All right, guys. So today it's going to be kind of a rush stream. I kind of have to GTFO. So I'm going to start the transcripts now. Usually I'll wait for you guys to come, more people to come in, but I'm just going to start the transcripts now, okay? So we have about a couple days of transcripts, and I had a blast reading these transcripts last night. Like I mentioned, Ben Chu brings up Wackadoodle. You see that typed into the transcript. They do their closing arguments. There's also, sorry, I skipped way ahead of myself. There's rebuttals, there's closing arguments. And I also think, I think the plaintiffs, the defense rested. So I'm going completely backwards. Okay, so defense rests, and defense is Amber Heard and her team. And then they did rebuttals on both sides. And then afterwards, it was closing arguments. But we had a lot of sidebars going on, a lot of sidebars. Now, I wouldn't say there was a lot of like Elaine sidebars. I think Elaine, she probably calmed down a little bit. But there's a lot of sidebars. I do want to read it because I do think they're interesting. Talk about all the rebuttal witnesses. You guys remember the rebuttal witnesses were very, I don't want to say controversial, but it was very... There's a lot of witnesses that came up during the trial, and definitely on her side of the team, they did not like that. For example, there was like Morgan Tremaine, the TMZ guy. There was Morgan Knight from the Hicksville one. But they kept trying to fight against having these witnesses on the stand. But Judge Penny was like, well, these are rebuttal witnesses. And sometimes with rebuttal witnesses, this is what happens, I think like if they were like non-rebuttal witnesses, then yeah, you have to like, basically have the discovery ahead of time and let everyone know that like, hey, these are people that were testifying, blah, blah, blah. But during rebuttal witnesses, sometimes you just have witnesses just come up out of nowhere. So she definitely let the rebuttal witnesses in, and we are glad for that because there was a lot of tea that was being spilled. This series has been very entertaining. All right, y'all, I'm just going to hop into it because I do have to, it's a bit of a rush stream today. So we are now on day 22. It is now May 24th, 2023. Oh my, has time really, can you guys believe it? It's been over a year since the trials has happened. Okay, so at this point, we are at, the defense has rested. The plaintiff, so defense rests. The plaintiff put in a motion to strike. They're attempting to dismiss Amber Heard's claims about the Adam Waldman statements. And you guys remember, Judge Penny denied it. And how do we know that? Because the trial kept continuing. So the trial could have no, because there was still another lawsuit happening. Sorry, there's two happening at the same time. They're both suing each other. I completely forgot that not only did Johnny Depp sue Amber Heard for $50 million, but Amber Heard decided to take that amount and double it and sue him for $100 million. There's a lot of things about the trial that I kind of forgot. I went to the back of my head, and I don't know. I'm just reminded how ridiculous H and her team were. Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right. We're on day 24. That's what I said, right? No, day 22, May 24th. Okay. What do we got for sidebars? Sidebar number 1, discuss rebuttal witnesses. So it's beginning of the day, we are towards the end of the trial, and let's start off with Elaine Bredehoff. She's not very happy. There's rebuttal witnesses. She doesn't know who these people are. She doesn't know what they're going to say. So Elaine says, Your Honor, 2 days ago on Sunday, May 22nd, more than 2 months after the close of discovery and 4 days after trial, plaintiffs supplemented their witness interrogatory that had asked for the identity of anyone who had any knowledge of the claims or defenses in this case, among other topics. And there was a court order that was entered on August 10, 2020, ordering them to provide those. Plaintiff included the following people for the first time: Morgan Knight, Jenna Price, Lydia Fuller, Miroslava Chavez, Kate Moss, David Colbert, and Morgan Tremaine. Now, of the people that didn't testify, that's Jenna Price, I don't think was up there. Lydia Fuller, Miroslava Chavez is not up there. David Colbert, I don't know. David Colbert sounds familiar. I don't remember. Do you guys know who the rest of these people are, though? Off the top of your head? I didn't look them up yet. Now, Elaine continues. Plaintiff then added several of those individuals to the list of the people they're calling today and tomorrow. Specifically, David Colbert, Morgan Knight, Kate Moss, Morgan Knight, and... Well, she said Morgan Knight twice. She meant Morgan Tremaine, and Lydia Fuller. Defendant is severely prejudiced by these last-minute additions, many of whom we have no idea who they are. Our client doesn't even know who they are, many of them. We have no opportunity to conduct any discovery, no opportunity to conduct any deposition, and Your Honor may recall that we moved to compel on the other witness interrogatories that say, please state what their knowledge is, identify the knowledge. The plaintiff objected to it on the basis of, why bother? We're at the end of discovery, and Your Honor then denied it. Well, if they had to, at least a minimum, respond to that, then even on Sunday, they would have to tell us who these people are. They would have to tell us what those people's knowledge is, but we're way too late. Your Honor has not even allowed us to have pictures that was produced after March 1. And now that we have all these people, now with respect to David Culper as well, he was Mr. Depp's apparently treating physician in LA, in Los Angeles, for his finger. We had a specific interrogatory, Your Honor. Judge Petty says, Elaine Bredehoff continues, you have all the interrogatories, a set of it. So we have compiled all of the interrogatory responses for the supplemental. But if Your Honor would go to the fourth tab to the second page, this was a response by the plaintiff in January of 2022. It says, identify each mental health or physical health care provider that you saw or consultant who examined you or provided treatment or statements to you from January 1st, 2010 to the present. State the reason and duration. And as you'll notice, this is a response. Dr. Culper is not identified. In addition to this, Honor, one of the people, Mr. Roddenborn, comes in, nor did they ever produce medical records. Elaine says, right. Roddenborn says, nor did they ever produce medical records for Dr. Culper in response to at least 4 documents requests that we could cite for Your Honor. I know, right? Time flew. It's crazy. You slept. It was fun. How many hours did you play it so far? David was his hand surgeon. Okay. Was he the hand surgeon or just attending physician? Bredehoff says, sidebar salad. I like that term. What is going on? Oh my goodness. My dog is so bossy. You're the one who wanted to come in here. Dennis, keep an eye on this hero guy. So bossy. I think he's like, and then when I ignored him, he's like, get me out of here. Jesus. Okay. Let's see what happens. It's the judge's fault they didn't submit on time. All right, let's see what it says. Elaine continues. Thank you, yes. And I do have those requests. First request, number 43. All the documents pertaining to the 3 surgeries to reconstruct a finger. Oh. And the second request, number 6. All the medical records from physical and mental health providers. Number 7. All the correspondence or records received or sent from the healthcare providers. And number 9. All the documents, communications concerning the alleged injury to the finger. And then on top of that, Your Honor, we found on social media last night, we didn't even know who this person was. Morgan Knight, the court. Are we still talking about Dr. Kober? Elaine says, no, this one's another one. That's Mr. Roddenborn. Moved on. The court, I haven't ruled on that one yet, but okay. Ms. Bredehoff, actually, I'm hoping you'll rule on all of these, Your Honor, because none of them were identified. Well, you agree rebuttal witnesses can come in that haven't been identified? Your Honor, only there's a reason for not having them identify them in response to interrogatory. The court, right, if something came up in this trial, Ms. Bredehoff. But if we had a clear interrogatory that said any defenses or claim for Dr. Kober, well, all of them. Well, you don't know what's going to come up in the trial testimony, so rebuttals, you can't. Your Honor, it's the same. I think you gave it to me. Ms. Bredehoff, sorry, I gave it to you. So the significance of this one, Your Honor, is this is a tweet by Morgan Knight, one of the people they identified to testify. And it's clear he's been watching the trial. He has a picture of Johnny Depp testifying. Then he says in his tweet that, Mr. Roddenborn, that umbrella guy. Elaine, yeah, it's that umbrella guy. And then Morgan Knight is commenting from that umbrella guy. That never happened. I was with him all night. Amber was the one acting all jealous and crazy. That's a tweet. So he's responded to this tweet that has what Mr. Depp is testifying to this trial. So he's clearly violated the witness rule in any event. So in response to Your Honor, we would be severely prejudiced by these individuals. Kate Moss was someone that Mr. Depp dated. I have a quick question, chat. Do you guys remember, did Johnny Depp testify about the Hicksville incident on the stand? I don't remember what he mentioned about that. Did he? Or was the first mention of Hicksville in the trial, was it when Amber Heard brought it up? I don't remember. Might have been Johnny Depp too, right? Hello from Norway? You don't think so? Yeah, I just don't remember. You got 4 hours in armored court. Nice. The court says, I know, we can't do these all in one time at one point. Elaine says, oh, I'm sorry. The court says, Kate Moss, though, that's a rebuttal. I know Miss Heard said something about Kate Moss. Ben Chu says, yeah, what she said. Ms. Bredehoff, What Miss Hurd said was she thought about Kate Moss when she saw that Mr. Depp, the court, right, was about to push Whitney down. Mr. Chu, it's referred to a false allegation. The court, that's a rebuttal witness. Mr. Chu, yes. The court, it would be rebuttal evidence. Ms. Bredehoff, what will be the rebuttal? Mr. Chu, the rebuttal would be that Johnny didn't push her down the steps. That was a clear inference. She was trying because no other woman had ever accused Johnny. The court, so Kate Moss is a different issue. Ms. Bredehoff, but Miss Hurd didn't testify that he did. She just said that's what came to mind. Mr. Chu, yes, she did. The court, excuse me, Mr. Chu, sorry, Your Honor. The court, okay, I wrote it down because I didn't know what was going on because she all of a sudden was on the stairs and she says, of all of a sudden, I heard Kate. I thought of Kate Moss on the stairs. That was a negative connotation. And even to me, I'm like, oh, does that mean something happened with Kate Moss on the stairs? And I have no idea. And so I thought the jury might thought that they're entitled to that rebuttal. So next person. All right, at this point, we're letting Kate Moss in. Ms. Bredehoff says, well, just if I may, Your Honor, just to make my record, they would have known that knowledge before. The court. She didn't know Ms. Hurd was going to testify to it, did she? Ms. Bredehoff, she testified in the UK, Your Honor. Mr. Chu says, good luck. She changes their story every 5 minutes. This is why I do feel bad. I mean, do I really feel bad? Not really. But the reason why the AH camp was such a mess, especially for their legal team, was because there was a lot of changes in the story throughout this entire thing. And I know Roddenborn Elaine was brought in kind of late, but come on. Elaine was there during the time of the UK trial, okay? She was there for a little bit. I think Roddenborn came maybe like after Elaine. James Franco. Yeah, they should have bring everyone up there. James Franco, get Elon Musk up there. I don't know who else wasn't mentioned. Oh man, Ben Chu throwing them jabs. Roddenborn says, I think to the extent the prior discovery request said all people with knowledge, they've been on notice since the UK about them. The court says rebuttal witnesses. I'm going to allow rebuttal witnesses if there's a nexus to it. But as far as that's why they need to be separate. Dr. Kober, if you have an issue where they didn't provide him in discovery as a medical person, Elaine, right, let's take the first thing. Can you respond to that one? Ms. Vasquez comes in. May I address Ms. Kober? The court says, yes, okay. Oh, is it Ms. Vasquez or Ms. Myers? I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's both of them. Okay, they're both talking at the same time. Ms. Myers has the same voice as Ms. Vasquez, by the way. I don't know how to do the difference between them. Ms. Myers is going to be, Your Honor, first of all, Dr. Kober, so we identified documents in response to the interrogatories. Dr. Kober's name and contact information, it's reflected in those. Camille Vasquez, medical records. Ms. Myers continues, communications. There are medical records. There's communication between Dr. Kober and I apologize, between Dr. Kober and blah, 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 blah. Everyone's talking at the same time. Court reporter can't record. Ms. Myers says, Dr. Kober and Mr. Depp's nurse, Debbie Lloyd, and the only way we're bringing Dr. Kober for a very limited rebuttal purpose. The court says, what's the rebuttal purpose? Ms. Myers says, so both Ms. Hurd and Whitney testified that Mr. Depp on the stairs incident was wearing a hard cast and was able to hit them. Oh, I forgot about this part. Oh man, remember how both Whitney and Amber was like, oh, Johnny came at us and attacked with this like hard cast. But I remember during the trial, they kept mentioning, no, Mr. Depp has a doctor that says that he was wearing a hard cast. He was actually wearing a soft cast. And so his arm would have been really fragile at the time. So they had a hard time believing, and they're trying to convey this to the jury that, how could Johnny Depp have hit these two women when he was wearing a soft cast? That would have been really fucking painful. Why not hit them with the other hand that was not injured? And remember, the reason why his hand was in a cast was because of the whole Australia incident where the tip of his finger was cut off. So Ms. Myers says, so Ms. Hurd and Whitney testified that Mr. Depp on the stairs incident was wearing a hard cast and was able to hit them. Dr. Kober's just going to testify that his hand was in a soft cast and he had a pin in it. He's just going to testify to the state of the hand on that specific time period. The court says, okay, and you're saying these Bates number, because I can't tell, correspond to these medical records? Ms. Myers, I believe they are, Your Honor. I cannot say for certain, but I know there are documents that would have identified in response to this that do reflect Dr. Kober being Mr. Depp's hand surgeon in LA. The court, do you have that? After Australia incident, the court, all right, do you have anything in here that identifies Dr. Kober? Ms. Myers, I believe our supplemental responses identify the documents themselves, but we can confirm what that he's reflected in those. Ms. Bredehoff, still wouldn't have identified Mr. Roddenborn. The whole case was based on lies. It's always a moving target with the AH team. Yeah, it's like, it's hard to keep up with your client when you just have lies and the story keeps changing. And it's also really embarrassing when you're representing her, you're like, she donated all of her divorce settlement. And then later on, when Team Johnny Depp finds out that she did it, and they're like, well, okay, she didn't, but she pledged those. So, I don't know. I had the articles brought up. I don't know. It must be so embarrassing to have to attack the other team and then keep switching your story every time. All right. Musician said no guitarist would injure their hand intentionally. Yeah, I remember people were saying that as well, Chris. Mr. Roddenborn says, Your Honor, if I may, I don't believe his name is in any interrogatory's response. And also under to the extent they didn't produce medical records that we've seen. There's a few emails back and forth with Dr. Kipper. But to the extent that they want to have him testify to treatment or diagnosis, they have to produce. Here's a copy for you all. They have to produce those things to be contemporaneous document under Virginia law, or else he can't testify to those things. We've never even gotten, other than a handful of emails, I don't believe we've gotten any medical records. So if he's going to testify it was a soft cast or whatever that the court says, you would have to have had that as medical records. Well, they're saying these Bates stamps are those medical records, but I don't know. If these are medical records, then I think he can testify, Mr. Roddenborn. If they want to represent to the court, then Ms. Myers, I know that there's a communication between Dr. Kipper. I can't represent that if there's no medical records, he can't testify. Camille and Jessica Myers says we need to check. The court says okay, agreed. Mr. Ben Chu also says we need to check. The court says, I'm assuming he's not your first witness. So if he's only going to testify, if you have those turned over to those medical records, not emails, but medical records to the defense, Mr. Roddenborn, and even if they have, also he's not identified into interrogatory so that we've seen. So if he's identified in the medical records. Yeah, but they say, if you say identify all your treatment providers and they say they don't put any names, just lists of Bates range, I don't think that's identifying them specifically. The court says, did you identify him as a treatment provider? Well, you can look into that too, Mr. Roddenborn. So those were the two designations. Elaine, no, and Your Honor has okay, well, if he's been identified as a treatment provider and the medical records were turned over, he can testify. If he hasn't, then he can't testify. Let's leave it at that. Thank you, Your Honor. All right. Now let's go on to Morgan somebody, I assume. Ms. Bredehoff. Knight. Morgan Knight is the next one. Morgan Knight. Let me drink real quick. Gosh. I'm so thirsty. Bredehoff says, now, this person apparently, based on the tweet, was somebody who either owns or is a manager at Hicksville. Well, Hicksville has been in the case all along. We've always argued that he trashed the trailer, the court, right? Ms. Bredehoff. And then on top of it, we have this. You're going to give it to me a third time. That's okay. So Mr. Wyatt is a rebuttal witness for what? He will be testifying that the trailer was not damaged to the degree that the trailer was not. Ms. Vasquez, yes, in response to Ms. Whitney Henriquez, and Ms. Hurd that both claimed the trailer was trashed, he will testify that's incorrect. He also will have to testify that, we have to make a proffer, but this seems, no, that's fine. Now, that's the date, Your Honor. First of all, I don't even know if this is Mr. Knight's Twitter account. Ms. Bredehoff, it's the Umbrella Guy's Twitter, and he's saying this. And then Morgan Higby Knight is responding to him right down there. Ms. Vasquez, that's April 21st, Your Honor. Right, which is in the middle of the trial. Okay, he's a rebuttal witness, meaning he stepped forward after this time. He stepped forward in May, Your Honor. Ms. Bredehoff, that doesn't make a difference. They still have to witness. Mr. Roddenborn, but the rationale for the witnesses or potential witnesses not watching the trial doesn't change if someone is a rebuttal witness or not. And we would ask, Ms. Vasquez, they weren't identified, Mr. Roddenborn, that any witnesses that Your Honor allows to testify to be voir dire before they testify. Well, here's the issue with this one because it's televised. There's an issue. If you don't even know you're a witness yet, how can you be? I understand that, but it's still manifestly unfair. The same rationale for prejudice applies whether someone is a rebuttal witness or known. And it's particularly someone like these people on an issue that's been, Hicksville, has been an issue since the first day of the lawsuit. So to the extent that they thought, and they've known about the allegations of the trailer since being trashed since day one of the lawsuit. So to the extent, Ms. Bredehoff, Christy Sexton testified too. She was deposed 2 years ago. Mr. Roddenborn, if they thought we might need to call Morgan Knight to testify this, they should. They've known this. This is something that this isn't something that came up anew. Hi, Kay. How are you doing today? How's it going? The court. You just said that he came forward in May. Ms. Vasquez, he came forward in May, and since then I've asked him to please, Mr. Roddenborn, Your Honor, not be Mr. Roddenborn. The fact that the trial is televised shouldn't create prejudice to our side, Your Honor. I mean, the fact that the trial is televised shouldn't create prejudice to the side just because the witness has watched. The court, no, I understand that, but the judge weighs on the role of the witness and how it affected the witness. If you have a rebuttal witness who didn't know they were a witness, I can't bind them to the rule on witnesses at the beginning of the trial if they don't know. I would have to bind the whole world. So I understand he came forward in May. If you want to voir him outside the presence of the jury on that issue of how much he's seen and how much his prejudice is for the rule of the witness is discretionary, I can do that. Mr. Roddenborn, well, and I would ask that they not speak to him before he gets on the stand. Well, she told him since May, Ms. Vasquez. I don't remember the exact date. It's very recent, Your Honor. Not to watch the trial. Yes, I did. As soon as we identified him as a potential witness, I did instruct him per Your Honor's ruling to please do not watch any of the trial. Do not watch any of the testimony. He was contacted by somebody else that worked at, gets cut off. Okay, this was April 21st. Like I said, I have to weigh him. Mr. Roddenborn, Hicksville has already come to trial, but April 21st. So he has the benefit, unlike any other witness, he has the benefit of knowing what the testimony is on the Hicksville. Have a good one. Morganite is tied for me. Favorite testimony. Remember how I think AH said that like the Hicksville employee was running around wearing like a mesh shirt or something, and he was like, "I would never wear a mesh shirt." Catching up at 2 times. Oh my goodness! If you can listen to me in 2 times, huge kudos to you. Hi, Callie. How are you doing today? How's it going? I know, Roddenborn, way better. Yeah, way more professional. I mean, he had his moments where he was like huffing and puffing and acting a little bit, childish. But yeah, definitely way better than Elaine. All right, so Mr. Chu, he could cross-examine him on that. Mr. Roddenborn and the court, this says Johnny Depp will be accused. He wouldn't have had the Mr. Chu. He can cross-examine him, the court. Everyone's speaking at the same time, blah, 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 blah. Elaine comes in. If I may, Your Honor, Chrissy Sexton was deposed 2 years ago, and she testified to the trailer park. We also got a court order with the judge. I'm still talking about Mr. Knight. Right. We can just do this one at a time. Right. No. She testified to the trailer being trashed. They would have had knowledge, and we've had a court order that ordered them to produce any documents relating to the damage to the trailer, so that they should have and would have reached out to him at that time. He came forward on his own. So I'm just going to weigh that, okay? We're going to see what happens with, that. I can't bind him to the rule and the witnesses if he wasn't a witness at the time. I can voir dire him outside the presence of a jury and see what he's seen of the trial, and I can weigh it from there. And, Your Honor, also, since this was on April 21, over a month ago, and we just got him identified 2 days ago, I just want Your Honor to voir dire when he first came forward, when he first communicated. Both of you can ask questions. That's fine. The issue that Elaine has is that when she loses an argument, she just keeps repeating herself over and over and over and over again, okay? When you're losing an argument, you got to get crafty and you got to shift, okay? You can't just repeat yourself thinking the more you repeat yourself, the more the person's going to get worn down and they're just like, okay, fine, I accept, whatever, do whatever you say. This is like in trial, everything is transcripted, it's all on the record, and if Judge Penny sticks with a decision, she's going to stick with it unless you give another better reason for it. The fact that Elaine likes to repeat herself a lot, it really doesn't help. Elaine says, right, but if they waited until 2 days before, Your Honor, they're putting on their rebuttal witness, and they knew for a month, then I think that's manifestly unfair. So now we have Elaine saying patently unfair. Now it's manifestly unfair. They have a duty to timely supplement their witness interrogatories, and they've become aware of them. They need to timely supplement. We're severely prejudiced by this. We have no opportunity to examine him, to take a deposition. Mr. Roddenborn, we can't talk. The court, these are rebuttal witnesses, and then you wouldn't have any opportunity to examine them. That's what rebuttal witnesses are, Mr. Roddenborn. But if they were on notice that he may be a rebuttal witness a month ago and sandbagged us in supplementing their discovery responses, we could have sought a deposition of him. We could have asked the court. You know how trials go. I know you didn't have Mr. Roddenborn, but Hicksville been an issue for more than 2 days, Your Honor, and Ms. Bredehoff, it's 2 years. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, I spoke to him for the first time yesterday. Last night after court was the first time I spoke to him. The court, rebuttal was a different beast, and I know you know that, Mr. Roddenborn. Mr. Roddenborn, I understand that, but Ms. Vasquez just said I thought you said you instructed him a month ago and stepped forward. Ms. Vasquez, I've not had an opportunity to speak with him. The court came forward in May. Mr. Roddenborn, I understand. But she just told the court that she instructed not to watch the trial a month ago, and that's the court. I've made my ruling. He's going to be able to testify. If I find that he's a rebuttal witness and we'll talk to him about the rule of witnesses and see where we're at, I don't know, okay? Mr. Chu, thank you. The court, all right, next one. Ms. Berterhoff, the next one's Jenna Price. We have no idea who this person is. Ms. Vasquez, she's not testifying, Your Honor. The court, she's not testifying. Next one. Okay, Lydia Phillip. She's not testifying. The court, these are my favorite ones. Judge Petty's so funny. Judge Petty just like easy. Straightforward, easy. Let's go. Move on to the next one. Knock them all out. Ms. Berterhoff, all right. We've talked about Kate Moss. We've talked about David Colbert, Morgan Tremaine. Ms. Vasquez, he's testifying. Ms. Berterhoff, I have no idea who that is. Ms. Vasquez, he worked for TMZ and he will testify that TMZ did receive the video from Ms. Heard and was also directed to be there on May 27, 2016 to take... Oh my gosh, I wish I could see the look on Elaine and Mr. Roddenborn's face when they heard about this, like, oh shit. That's a bombshell right there. And then when they had to relay that message to their client, be like, hey, Ms. Heard, we just got notice from Camille Vasquez that TMZ's going to be testifying. Girl, why didn't you tell us about this? So that's why they had to scramble. Contact TMZ right now. Get TMZ to tell the lawyers to tell them not to testify. We gotta get him removed from this. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Okay. All right. It's just a firestorm in Camp Heard. The court. This is rebuttal witness. Ms. Vasquez, that's rebuttal. The court, okay, next. Ms. Berthoff, again, Your Honor, they still should have had that known information and should have identified an interrogatory response. The court, during trials, things happen. These are rebuttal witnesses. Next one, the objections overrule. Elaine, that's the last one, Your Honor, but I would. The court, okay, I got a big one about Ms. Vasquez. Dr. David Colbert, Your Honor, what's about this new Meister witness? I confirm the x-rays are the court. I've got this 3 times in my folder. Someone says, what is this? Ms. Berterhoff. Oh, he's going to argue that the 4th. Ms. Vasquez. We're not ready to argue that. Okay, we'll do that tomorrow. Ms. Berterhoff. So the next one is Jennifer Howell, Your Honor. Jennifer Howell is by deposition designation. And Your Honor, I have the pages that are actually showing none of these are legitimate rebuttal testimony. And Your Honor may recall including our Berkovici. Who's Berkovici? Because he wasn't on rebuttal. So let me just go through these. So first of all, the testimony of Amber does not rebut or contradict Amber's testimony or anything in this case. They designated Howell 2313 through 20, in which Ms. Howell testified that she met Amber Heard at the Pineapple Express premiere in 2008. 2008? What were you guys doing in 2008? 2008! Was I still in high school? College? 2008. Where were you guys in 2008? Hi, Patty. How are you doing today? The TMZ one is my other favorite. Yeah, we had a lot of really good moments. I wish YouTubers could create their own Netflix. That was so much better. Listen, I think I would have been super down and excited to watch the Netflix doc if they were able to get like another perspective of the trial, or like maybe like interview like the witnesses that are on there, interviewed like the police officers, interview the jury again, interview like some of the legal team. Like if they were able to get like, I don't know, like other perspectives and stuff on the trial, that would have been really cool and interesting to watch. From what I've heard, they basically just like clipped up a bunch of footages from the trial, kind of threw it all together, and then like took a bunch of clips from like social media and was like, these people are mean. They made fun of Amber Heard, but then didn't really go over why, you know, if they thought people were mean and attacking Amber Heard, they need to talk about why they attacked her. And if they thought that she was innocent, that she was not lying in the stand, they need to go over, okay, well, why was she not lying, you know? But and I felt a lot of people said it kind of just fell flat. There wasn't really much going on in the Netflix doc, even though it was like a 3-episode thing. It was just kind of like, meh. A TikTok clip show. Elaine seems to be confused by how trials go throughout the trial. I forget how wild her arguments were. I think Elaine just doesn't listen. I don't know. She's one of those people who like, they argue to argue, but they don't like listen, you know? Like, what's that saying again? When you're like, when you listen to argue versus listening to listen, I don't know. Watch it. I don't know, man, dude. 3 episodes. I don't know if I want to go through the whole trial stuff. We're already doing the sidebar stuff, but the sidebar, this is like new content for me because I didn't know what happened in the sidebar. But if it's just same shit like over and over again, I don't know. It seems like so uninteresting. It was bland. You can get it through. Yeah, that's a lot of people told me. Even people who didn't even watch the trial and they watched the Netflix doc, they're just like, what is this? Hi, Tim. How are you doing today? If they interviewed the umbrella guy, it would have been more correct. Well, you know, honestly, I could see why any of the YouTubers wouldn't trust him, though, because they probably would just clip him out of context, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. If it was real, if the Netflix doc came from like, you know, from a perspective, like there was like no biases and they were trying to be fair on both sides and then they like interviewed people, like it could have been really interesting. But yeah, I don't know. Because I know like the umbrella guy and like some other YouTubers have like, you know, went after some of the like media who like covers the case and they're just like Amber Heard shills and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. Frontline special. Oh, Elaine, I'm not going to watch the Netflix doc. There took a lot of YouTuber created content and asked permission. And then yeah, I heard about that. They left out a lot. Yeah, and then the lawyer, you know, mentioned that I think he watched the Netflix doc and he said that there was a part where they were saying like, oh, you know, Amber Heard's evidence didn't come in and made a huge deal about that or something. But he was like, well, if they took the time to look at the transcripts and read the sidebars, they would know why Judge Penny didn't allow certain evidence to come in. And it was evidence on both sides for Johnny Depp's team and Amber Heard's stuff. But Amber Heard was the one who had a lot of like these hearsay docs, right? So I thought that was a really good point that he made too. But he also said the show was like, meh. My brother watched it and he didn't even watch the trial and he said it was meh. He was like, I don't understand what the point of this was. Yeah. But maybe someone will make another doc in the future or something. And do like a 10-year later perspective and have like, I don't know, interview Roddenborn, interview Elaine, the rest of Amber Heard's legal team, maybe the Johnny Depp legal team as well. Some of the witnesses who didn't get to testify and stuff like that. I don't know. I would think that would be kind of interesting. But anyways, we're on Jennifer Howell right now. Okay. The court says, I'm not sure. It's just not meeting Jennifer Howell. That's a rebuttal. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So funny. So I don't know where Elaine was getting with, I don't know what was reporting about this as well. I don't even know if she was even serious when she talked about this. Okay, so I'm going to repeat what Elaine says, okay? So Elaine was saying that they designated Howell, in which Howell testified that she met with Amber Heard at Pineapple Express premiere in 2008. Neither Amber nor Whitney were asked about when Amber met Jennifer Howell. That's not a legitimate rebuttal. It's like, do you really think that's a rebuttal? You really think Team Johnny Depp, the Stellar team, was trying to rebut that they met in Pineapple Express? And then Judge Penny's like, I'm not sure if it's just not meeting Jennifer Howell, that's the rebuttal. I don't know. Okay. Oh, sorry. Elaine says, it's not a rebuttal when she met Amber Heard. Amber Heard because Amber Heard never testified whether she met Miss Howell or not. She never even asked about Miss Howell. Their next one is that they designated 2552 through 9. Miss Howell states that Amber never showed her photographs or told her that Depp was abusive towards her. Amber never testified that she invited Miss Howell, showed Miss Howell photographs, or told her that Depp was abusive towards her. So it's not rebuttal. The third one, plaintiff designated Howell 2993 through 11, in which Miss Howell testified that she received an anonymous donation of $250K and she believed the anonymous donor was Elon Musk. Defendant was designated at 34512 through 22, in which Miss Howell testifies that she received a check from Fidelity Charitable with a note saying that it was in honor of Amber Heard. This is consistent with Amber's testimony that she donated $250K with him, but it was not going to count to any overall pledge. This donation is unrelated and outside of $6.8 million, and it's not rebuttal testimony. Next one, Your Honor, please bear with me. They have a testimony that designated testimony regarding Whitney that doesn't rebut as well. The first of those is 12.5 to 12.14, and the other one that's virtually the same thing, which states Jennifer Howell is the CEO of the Art of Elysium. Whitney testified trial day 19, transcript 24721-2481. She's the founder of the Art of Elysium nonprofit, right? She is. So that doesn't rebut. Then they designated Howell, which states that Whitney lived with Ms. Howell from May 2015 to April 2016. Whitney testified that this is, again, day 19. These are all the questions that were asked in cross-examination. Around May 2015, you actually moved in with Ms. Howell, right? She says, May 2014. They say yes. The court, I'm not going to go through the whole deposition. So you're saying it's not a rebuttal witness. What's this person? Ms. Vasquez. She's a rebuttal witness to both Whitney and Ms. Heard as to the stairs incident and her, Ms. Enriquez, what we will call perjurous testimony. Ooh, shots fired. Perjurous testimony. That Ms. Heard was actually abusive towards Mr. Depp, and that Ms. Heard was abusive towards Mr. Depp. Okay. Miss Elaine, there's no testimony that's designated that comes in on that. There's nothing in the designation. Miss Vasquez, there's an email that Your Honor sustained the objection, and Ms. Howe testified as to why she sent the email to Ms. Henriquez, and she explains that, and Your Honor did allow the testimony, but we believe that is so. Ms. Bredehoff, it has no context. She says she sent an email. I'm going to allow this one. Ms. Benchu, Mr. Benchu. Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. Next one. Ms. Vasquez, Dr. Colbert's x-rays that were shown to the hand surgeon, Dr. Moore, yesterday came from Dr. Colbert. Those were medical records. Those were x-rays from Dr. Colbert. I think Dr. Moore is Amber Heard's. They had like a doctor that testified about what he thought happened to Johnny's hand. I think that's Dr. Moore. Roddenborn. Okay, a couple points, Your Honor. Those were the attached to the Australian medical records. Number two, so Dr. Colbert's to LA. Number two, there's nothing. They still didn't identify him in the interrogatory responses. Did you identify him? Ms. Vasquez, I need to confirm that, Your Honor, but they didn't. I mean, you can do it. Ms. Bredehoff, and I have the court, and they're going to confirm Mr. Roddenborn. All right. Okay. And then the other things that I want to say is even if the x-rays were attached, even if like, let's say those did come, the court, so they didn't identify it in the designations. They have not, Your Honor. Right. But one more point. If you look at the statute, even in the x-rays related were Dr. Colbert's medical records, if those are only records he produced, if what they're going to do is get him up there and say that it was a hard cast, the x-rays don't show that. And if you see the first sentence of the subsection B, if the physical condition of the patient is the issue is a civil action, the diagnosis, signs, symptoms, observations, evaluations, history, and even or team plan, the practitioner obtained or formulated as a contemporaneous document. So the medical record, whatever they're going to have him testify about, has to be in the medical record that were produced. So if it's just the x-rays, that's not related to the court. Well, let's see when they come out. Camille. And Your Honor, I have to be fair. I have to read it, but I would submit that he's actually a fact witness and not testifying as a medical expert. You still have to produce the medical records. I would have to agree with that argument, okay? This is a fact witness. Mr. Chu. We'll check, Your Honor. Thank you. The court. Any other ones? Mr. Roddenborn. Could we just it would be helpful if they could just confirm that by like the morning break or something, because otherwise we have to prepare that. We'll see. Okay, I'll let them. All right, thank you, Ms. Bredehoff. So for the two that they're going to, Your Honor's allowing in the court, 3 actually, Ms. Bredehoff. They do get to the court. There's a video deposition of Miss Moss and Mr. Knight we're going to talk about. And we'll get to voir dire, all 3 of those when no, not all 3, Mr. Knight. The others are done. That's good. Female speaker, we'll get all of them. The court. One's a deposition. Ms. Bredehoff. Oh, not how. I wasn't talking about how. I was talking about... No, we're not voir diring her. The only one will be voir dired is Mr. Knight. Not Morgan Tremaine, since they didn't identify him till Sunday. And Ms. Hurd testified. No, the only voir diring is Mr. Knight to see where we are. Okay? Judge Betty's like, how many times do I have to repeat myself? You know what would have been interesting? They just said social media was a jury. That's it. You know what would be really interesting though? If the trial was not live streamed and people still formed the opinions that they did, that it was AH that abused Johnny Depp and she lied and all that stuff. You know what would have been like the mainstream media, or maybe like, I don't know, maybe like the Team Heard stuff, right? The Team Heard, they would have been like, well, the people of social media didn't watch the trial. They weren't even there. So how could they have formulated their opinions? But now it's like, oh, we did watch the trial. And, a lot of people formed their opinions because they saw it live. It would have just been funny to see if it was flipped and what their argument would have been. It would have been the same shit. Oh, they didn't watch the trial. They don't know what really happened. So anyways. Hello. How you doing today? How's it going? Mollusk. I actually did not understand the mollusk joke until like I think the very end towards the trial. I was like, oh, I get it now, because I didn't know what mollusk dick was. Okay. All right. So Elaine, get it straight. Only voir dire, Mr. Knight. Whew. That was only sidebar number 1. That was a lengthy one. Okay. So right now we revisit Dr. Colbert, finger doctor witness. Regarding Johnny Depp wearing a soft cast, and Elaine is confused why Dr. Curry is a rebuttal witness. So Jessica Myers for Team Depp. So, Your Honor, we went back and confirmed Colbert's notes produced that Depp 18263 through 99. Mr. Roddenborn, notes or records? Those are emails. No. These are his notes. I can show you. I have it on my phone. We asked them to send those to us. The court, sure. Ms. Myers, they're from Cedar. Ms. Vasquez, Cedar Sinai. He works for Cedar Sinai. Ms. Myers, he works for Cedar Sinai. He says at the top, Dr. Kober in Los Angeles. I'm not sure that any of us have seen those before, Your Honor. We just asked them to email us. Ms. Vasquez, they're bait stamped. The court, well, you can email them to him, and as soon as we take the morning recess, you can take a look at them. Elaine, they still haven't identified them in response, Your Honor. Ms. Myers, well, and Your Honor, in our supplemental response, we refer defendants to our medical records in this action, which contains the responsive information. And one of these documents, Depp 1892, is identified here, and that identifies Dr. Kober. But you never identified him in your submission? Your Honor, it's not hard to list names. Ms. Vasquez, none of those names are identified. Ms. Myers, yes, we listed the base numbers that included the information. So none of their names? None of the medical providers have been identified by names. So none of the medical providers were put in by name. Is that correct? I can speak to that, Your Honor. All I can speak to. So you didn't object to any of the other medical providers? I don't know. I know I didn't. I don't know. I didn't. Ms. Redahoff. Well, they didn't have any other medical providers testify here. Well, they again, Ms. Myers. Dr. Kipper? Ms. Redahoff, no, they didn't identify Dr. Kipper, Your Honor. They identified him in a witness interrogatories. We had an opportunity to dispose him. The court, well, as a witness, but I'm talking about the objection is over the medical records, and they didn't identify him as a medical provider. Mr. Roddenborn, Your Honor, I can't speak to a lot of the other doctors have come in numerous of ways. They've been on the radar screen for years. Here's their, Ms. Redahoff, we didn't identify them. Mr. Roddenborn, it's not hard to have an interrogatory response that lists a person by name. To just bury it and say, you better review this and maybe you'll get a name from it, that's total sandbagging. It's gamemanship. It's not appropriate, especially to do it with 1 day's notice when, especially under 801, under 399, Your Honor, we will need to see the records to see what. Well, I'm going to give you the records. Rule 801, I think, is covered if these are medical records. That's covered. Female speaker, yeah. The court. The question now is just if he was identified as a medical provider. That's the paragraph. And it doesn't. It was January. That was supplemented January 2022. We already had Dr. Kipper. We had Blaustein. We already had everyone else. But they don't identify those people here either. Well, but they identified them in the witness interrogatory, so we had them anyway. They hadn't given us those names. This is totally different. Anyway, I mean, we're not playing games, Your Honor. I mean, if they had identified them already as witness interrogatories, then we already know that. But if we didn't know about Kober, and maybe we didn't know that they were anticipating making him a rebuttal witness, Your Honor, I would just point out that the document that identifies Dr. Kober is Depp 1892. That's a document that would have been produced very early on in the... So these aren't the ones that identify him? No, we identified them in Bates range Depp 1628 through 1927, and within that is Depp 1892, which identifies Dr. Kober. It's other medical records from Dr. Kober. I have no idea what that is, Your Honor. It's not hard to put a name. This is just, it's female speaker. Your Honor, they did not object. Ms. Redahoff, if they put the name, we'd have known that they were contemplating calling him. We didn't know that there was a name. The court, where's the plaintiff refers defendants to the medical records produced in this action that the plaintiff offered, Ms. Vasquez, from which information responsive to this interrogatory may be obtained, specifically indiscernible. Mr. Roddenborn, repeating this for the 4th time. It's not hard to list the name of the doctor. I know. It was coming up for the first time. It appears they compiled with it the response. They didn't object, Your Honor, says Ms. Vasquez. Mr. Roddenborn, they didn't. We asked them to identify. Well, you don't object to what you don't know. From which part? Ms. Myers, are you saying we didn't have these documents that we identified? Mr. Roddenborn, I'm going to keep my comments confined to the court, but they didn't identify the doctor. So I guess like when they're doing the sidebars and they're talking to Judge Penny, the lawyers aren't really supposed to talk to one another. They're supposed to communicate through Judge Penny. And that makes sense because sometimes they start arguing, you fight over each other. So communicating through the judge. And Jessica Myers is asking Roddenborn a pretty direct question. He's like, well, I'm not going to respond to you. I'm going to respond to Judge Penny. Roddenborn says, we have under 399s under covered. If it's going to testify is in the medical records, I need a chance to see those. All right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to allow them to testify if those are actual medical records within those medical records. Okay, we can ask those, but can Your Honor ask them if they're trial exhibits? Because again, and if they're not hearsay, this is a rebuttal witness. All right, are they here based on Your Honor's ruling about medical records? And if they're hearsay, he can testify to what they say. He's testifying about his treatment. He's testifying from his memory, I assume. That's just a discovery issue. And that's what I'm going to address right now. None of these medical records are going to come into evidence. Understood. But we need to see them. Right. I totally agree. Time for glasses with you. Ms. Myers, I'm sending them to you right now. So send them and we'll look at them and see if that does. Because it seems like he's limited to what he's going to testify to. It's like the type of cast it was in. So can Your Honor ask them to confirm that? Well, we're going to ask about the state of the hand, but also the cast. Well, that's different. Well, you need to. That's rebuttal. The court, I know it's rebuttal, but now it's medical records. I need to know exactly what you provided. There's a list of notes that covers, it seems like a full range of his treatment. I just sent them to them. But he cannot testify to that under rule. What was the rebuttal part? The rebuttal part is to state that Mr. Depp's hand in 2015, when Ms. Heard and Ms. Henriquez both testified that Mr. Depp was able to attack him and try to push him down the stairs incident in March of 2015. And that he was wearing a hard cast the whole time. Dr. Colbert's going to testify that his finger was in a pin. There was a skin graft and he had, it sounds so painful. That there was a skin graft and he had a soft cast on at that time that he had recently performed surgery. Essentially, yes. And that was his hand state at that time. That's expert testimony. Just that he performed surgery, he had a soft cast on it, not a hard cast, and a pin in it, and a skin graft. Mr. Roddenborn, if there's going to be any testimony because of what was the cause of the finger injury was, because that would be expert opinion. Ms. Myers, I'm going to ask if he has understanding, but no, you're not. Okay, I will not. The court, not going to ask that. Mr. Roddenborn, I've asked the question twice, and now they've identified two more things that can go beyond the court's ruling. Can we get a complete... I understand that the only thing they can talk about is the pin. They did the surgery, pin, and soft cast. That's all I should hear. And the skin graft, Your Honor. Skin graft on the pin. That was on the surgery. That's new. No, it's not new. No, it's not new. It was reflected in Debbie Lloyd's notes as well. Please, just address me. I apologize. So this was just a surgery performed and the state of his hand on the date of the alleged incident. So what the state of his hand was after the surgery. And so that essentially involves... And so it involves essentially what he did in the surgery and how the hand was after that. We're not going to go into the whole surgery. I'm just going to say there was a surgery performed and that was a state, that was, what exactly is he going to testify to? Essentially, he's going to say, I put a pin in, there was a skin graft or a cadaver over the top of the finger, and then it was wrapped in a soft cast and immobilized, essentially. Oh. Hello, everyone. Hi, James. How are you doing today? Elaine is back. Hi, Paris. The court says, and that's it. Jessica Myers. Yes. All right. We'll see if it's in. I'm going to be ready to jump, Ben. And I'll be jumping up there and I'll jump up there with you, okay? Because that's what we're going to work with. If we can have a chance to, we'll go ahead and take our morning recess, give you a chance to look at that. Now, Elaine Bertahoff is like, why is Dr. Curry testifying? Don't bring that woman back in here. I was kidding. Elaine says, and just as long as we're up here, Your Honor, to save some time later, they have listed Dr. Curry as a rebuttal witness. I don't think she has anything that she can rebut. So that Ms. Vasquez, Dr. Hughes' testimony, Your Honor, she could rebut Dr. Hughes. If they can rebut Dr. Hughes' testimony, that's a rebuttal. She will have to designate it in order to do that. No, she was an expert witness. How would she not have anything to rebut? So no, the answer is no. Thank you, Your Honor. All right, next we have Mr. Roddenborn is still worried about the doctor's testimony. Ooh. Mr. Roddenborn says, I'm still skeptical that the medical records discuss what they're going to want, but I'll just take it question by question. I'll object if it goes that beyond what. And Your Honor, may I just say, as you said, that the medical records were a discovery issue. I mean, we can call him to rebut the testimony that's based off the memory of treating Mr. Depp, but it wouldn't necessarily be reflected in the medical records. No, not under 399. He testified, not testified. I represented that. The topics that he will be testifying to, yes, that's what it is. Right. And I don't know if it's a proper objection that a soft cast is not in the medical records, something like that. If we produce his medical records and he's testifying it comes in. You can cross-examine. Right. But the only thing that he can testify to is something, or as 399 says, observations, diagnosis, etc., etc. He's not going to give any opinions. Mr. Roddenborn, correct. And anything he testifies to has to have been contemporaneously documented in the medical records under the statute. Well, you have to be provided. All right. But as contemporaneously documented, so if he didn't document something in the medical records, he can't get up there and say, oh, and I also remember this and this and this. It's not reflected in the medical records. The court, but you're saying the cast is in the medical records? Mr. Roddenborn, I'm going to say there's a reference to a splint, but I'm going to, and I can cross-examine him on it. You can cross-examine him on that. Understood. If they want to say there's a soft cast, I'm not going to object to that probably. I mean, depending on what the question is. But if it's beyond, if it's something that's based on the quick review of the medical records, it's not in the medical records, he can't testify to any observations or diagnoses or treatments that aren't in there. The soft cast, Your Honor, I think there's a medical professional. I don't think that a medical professional is limited in their testimony or what they decide to document in this medical records. They have medical records that were taken contemporaneously with his treatment. And some of what he testifies may be reflected in those medical records. And some of them may be from his own recollection of treating Mr. Depp. Hi, Bobby Cat. How are you doing today? It just talks about shall be disposed. Didn't think about testifying. Mr. Roddenborn. But it says I'm trying to do my best here. If it's communications between physicians and patients, and I understand that, except at a request or the consent of the patient. Right. But then the practitioner will still need to come in and testify. That's the testifying part. The part you're talking about just says that it shall be disclosed. Right. But it says as contemporaneously documented. That's the operative. Right. But that doesn't affect his testimony though. Understood. But if he's still testifying to diagnoses that aren't in the medical records, he can't do that under the statute. He can do that. He can do that because that's not testimony. Testimony up here on A. B is just talking about what he needs to turn over. This is not talking about the testimony, actually. Okay. But I mean, you can cross-examine on that clearly. Okay. Thank you. All right. We have Michael Spindler is on the stand, and this was the forensic accountant. All right, we're going to back up a little bit from Michael Spindler. The question was, is it Dennison? Or is it Jessica? Okay. One of Mr. Depp's female attorney. Lecca Rose. I don't remember who that was. Was that the brunette, maybe? How to say Depp attorney? Depp attorney. What's the significance of the timing of the Waldman statements to the opportunities of Ms. Arnold's claims Ms. Heard lost? Answer. The argument, as I understand, is that Ms. Arnold say that Ms. Heard lost all these opportunities because of those losses were caused by Adam Waldman's statement 16 months later. So I think the timing, Mr. Nadehoff. Your Honor, may we approach the court? Sure. Mr. Nadehoff. I don't believe I've seen in the designation that he would comment on the Waldman statements have to do with the renegotiation. Okay. Depp attorney. I mean, I don't think he was responding to Ms. Arnold, but I'm going to discuss it with him, Mr. Nadehoff. And it's in the rebuttal report. The court. That's in the rebuttal report. So you can't go into the Waldman statements because it's not in the rebuttal report. Depp's attorney. Okay, I just think that talking about the timing, the period of the timing after the Waldman statement and the impact of the analysis. Nadehoff. He can't just go into that, the court. So I'll sustain the objection. Everyone says, thank you. Next, we have Dennison versus Roddenborn. Spindler is still on the stand, and they are discussing Amber Heard's earnings. Okay. Mr. Roddenborn. This is the court. This transcript is in. Mr. Roddenborn. This is Mr. Spindler's deposition transcript taken on, this is volume 2, March 25th. All right. I asked him these questions, and he testifies as follow. The court. All right. Are you offering anything? You're not offering any opinion that would impact the alleged defamation by Mr. Depp of Ms. Heard's career. All right. So that's not in his designation either. Is that correct? Mr. Dennison. I'm reading it. So thank you, Your Honor. The court. Okay. Sorry. We'll share. Mr. Roddenborn. And I just have copies. He's essentially saying, I'm just addressing what Ms. Arnold said, not rendering my own opinions on what the impact of alleged defamation is. And so Mr. Dennison's question just now was essentially that. Said, have you developed an opinion on Mr. Dennison? I'm asking about Ms. Arnold. The court. Yeah, he was asking about Ms. Arnold's opinion. Mr. Dennison. He wasn't going to testify to his opinion. The court. Okay. If you want to rephrase the question as to Ms. Arnold, Mr. Dennison. Yep. The court. Okay. Next, we have the TMZ motion to quash witness testimony. So at this point, TMZ was scrambling. They were getting an attorney that they were going to hire. They were getting an attorney so they can try to quash Morgan Tremaine's testimony. And again, at this point, he was a previous TMZ employee. She must be punching the air. Dude. Lisa says, does anyone notice the hand signals Amber was giving Whitney while Whitney was on the stand? Amber was resting on the chin and she was doing different stuff with her fingers. Dude, when she was staring at Whitney and she was testifying, to me, that just looked like intimidation. I don't know. It was fucking weird, dude. She was like staring at her like a hawk and like, it was so weird. Okay, so TMZ testimony. Elaine says, Your Honor, the attorneys from TMZ has told us that they filed a motion with this court shortly ago. Okay. And we want to have the opportunity to argue the motion to quash the testimony. I think his name is Tremaine Morgan. Elaine. Miss Vasquez. Morgan, Tremaine, the court. What's their basis to do that? Ms. Bredehoff, to protect their sources. So they asked us to tell the court that they filed with it and we would like the opportunity to argue it. That's not going to happen, okay? Wait, Ms. Bredehoff. Okay, we also, with respect to the other Morgan Knight, is that his name? Yeah. That's the one that's testifying. I did want him to just represent what he's testifying to. They said the trailer, Hicksville trailer. Vasquez. Correct. Okay, anything else? Yes, he was there, present, he observed. But this is all Hicksville related, correct? Yes. Ms. Bredehoff. But he was there? Ms. Vasquez. He was there, present. He observed Mr. Depp and Ms. Hurt interacting with friends. The court. But it's all to do with Hicksville? Ms. Vasquez. It's all rebuttal related to Hicksville? Okay. All right. We're going to do the voir dire, Mr. Roddenborn. The one other thing we just wanted to get a sense. Sorry, Mr. Chu. Sorry. Ms. Bredehoff. It's the gummy bears, Mr. Roddenborn. I just wanted to get a sense of who else they plan to call today because I don't know how long they're planning on going with Mr. Banya, but I don't think. So I think what was happening here with the gummy bear thing, I think the gummy bear thing must have happened. And when Roddenborn interjected saying there's one other thing we just want to get a sense. Sorry. I think Elaine thought that Mr. Roddenborn was going to bring up the gummy bears. So she decides to cut in and say the gummy bears. But Mr. Roddenborn is like, no, we're talking about something different, Elaine. Come on now. It's the gummy bears. But I think what happens is that Mr. Roddenborn continues talking and no one really acknowledges Elaine's gummy bear comment, or maybe she was talked over, or maybe she was joking. But I think what happened was she was trying to give Ben Chu and them shit for the gummy bear thing probably and bring it up to the judge. But yeah, Roddenborn was talking about something completely different. It's the gummy bears. I just wanted to get a sense of who else they plan to call today because I don't know how long they're planning on going with Mr. Banya, but I don't think the court. Is Mr. Knight the next one? Ms. Vasquez. Yes, the court. So after you finish here, we'll have to excuse the jury so that we can have a voir dire of Mr. Knight. Okay, that's fine. And then we have two other depositions that we'd like to play. Albeit they're short though. That's Children's Hospital of LA and Jennifer Howe. I think, is that it? Mr. Chu. Well, that's it. Ms. Vasquez, we may be finishing a bit earlier today. The court, do you have more witnesses tomorrow? Ms. Vasquez, yes, but they're scheduled to testify tomorrow. Just to let you know, if you finish early, I give you the time all the way to 5:30. Mr. Chu, we understand. We'll take the penalty. The court, you'll take the penalty. Mr. Chu, yes. Elaine says, thank you, Your Honor. Oh, poor Elaine. Elaine's like, darn it. We didn't get to talk about the gummy bears. All right, we're going to continue reading on to sidebar number 11. All right, Vasquez says she forgot there was a witness. Dr. Shaw is here. Is that a live witness? Yes. Elaine says, we didn't know about that, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez, you were notified that he'll be testifying today, potentially today if we're running out of time. The court, all right. Sorry, I just forgot on top of my head. All right, thank you. So next, Miss Lecca Rose is continue asking questions. When is the next sidebar? This is the Q score. Q score. Dr. Shaw as the witness. Oh, okay, I read that. And sidebar 13. My only note that I have here is Nadelhoff okay? All right, I don't know. I think Nadelhoff might have been, I don't know, maybe having some sort of attack or something. All right, so Depp Attorney. There's a specific reference to the UK ruling on this demonstrative. Mr. Nadelhoff. It's his report. He hasn't changed. It's the same information he said in this one. It doesn't say anything about the UK ruling. And then he put up a chart and he has testified that there's various searches. This is a chart that you had me cut, right? No. Depp's attorney. So this is a responsive to Miss Arnold's testimony, which is different because damages period is different. So there's a legacy reference. He did scrub it from the demonstrative that he used it for that purpose. Mr. Nadehoff. Your Honor, he testified to 6 different times where he was saying it was not. The court. Why don't you just put this chart in he used a demonstrative? The only reason he would be the patient, isn't on there? Wait, what the fuck did she just say? Miss Penny says, Judge Penny, why don't you just put this in his chart he used as a demonstrative? The only reason would be the patient isn't on there. Mr. Nadehoff. But the chart doesn't say anything about the UK judgment. The second one would be the court, the UK ruling. Mr. Nadehoff. It just says UK ruling. We've been talking about the UK ruling, Your Honor. We've talked about, in his opinion today, he's been saying nothing but those searches. That's none of the tweets that are related to the Waldman statements. Okay. And then he just said, look, the reason. The way he found that was by looking at the articles, by doing a Google search. That's what he testified to. I don't care so much about this chart, but the articles that I'm sorry, are you moving to page 99 this is 99. 99 reference articles that he used to determine that the searches were not related. He claims the searches were not related to the Waldman statements. Okay. Then 76 are the articles of the titles that include, I will say they include something about, I didn't know you were trying to move to 76. I was just looking at the graph. The graph you're not caring about much as this. The graph I don't correct. We're off to 99. We're just on 76. Any objection to 76? Depp's attorney. I haven't confirmed at the moment. I wasn't aware that was part of it. That was a UK ruling. Mr. Nadehoff, here's the thing, Your Honor. He testified that the way that he would determine the tweets weren't related to the Waldman statement. I understand your argument, sir, but you're trying to put things in with the UK judgment on it. Mr. Nadehoff, I know, but why? They could have just amended their disclosures. They never gave us. I'm going to sustain the objection. Let's move on. So Team Amber Heard keeps trying to slip in the UK ruling. Different times. Elaine has tried it a couple times. Now Nadehoff is right here. And I don't know if Rottenborn may have tried as well. But I feel like by doing that, they're just trying to taint the jury. Be like, hey, jury, wink, wink. There was a UK ruling and wink, wink. Johnny Depp lost that one. Wink, wink. What do you think the judge thought? Oh, hello, Mama Gemma. How are you doing today? How's it going? I'm not going to lie. Every time Elaine talked about Gummy Bear the Gummy Bear theme tune was in my bed sometimes in death metal format. What? Oh, man. Hi, Food for Thought. How are you doing today? All right. Sidebar 13. 14 is we got Morgan Knight from the Hicksville incident. 6/19/20. Number 12. Okay. So this is Morgan Knight, and he is going to describe what he saw at the trailer palace. I described them getting to the trailer palace and me showing them around the interactions I had when I was on duty with Mr. Depp, Miss Heard, how the evening progressed throughout the night, the levels of drinking, the drug use I witnessed, what the state of the damaged trailer the next morning, and basically, the details that I had only, spent total 45 minutes to an hour with Mr. Depp and Miss Heard throughout the evening, throughout the entire course of the night. So it was my recollection of those evening events during that time. The question, and what did Miss Vasquez say to you? Oh, so right now he's being questioned by Elaine Bertahoff. Mr. Chu, Your Honor, this is beyond, we object to the grounds. It is beyond the scope of the voir dire. Miss Bertahoff, no, whatever she said to him. Mr. Chu, may I please finish stating my objection, Your Honor? The court, go ahead. Yes, sir. Mr. Chu, the objection is that it's beyond the scope of the voir dire. Your Honor enumerated the 3 criteria which are relevant here, and this is a rebuttal witness, so, Your Honor, whatever Miss Vasquez shared with him is going to be very important here because they knew by this time he was going to be a witness. The court, but that was last night, right? Now, does that fit into one of the 3 factors of deciding whether or not he's going to testify? Well, one of the 3 factors, Your Honor. May I approach where the witness isn't here? The court, okay, that's fine. The court, I'm just determining these 3 factors. And I understand that. But if Miss Vasquez shared any of the information that any of the witnesses says, you can ask if she shared information about what other witnesses said. If you want to ask that question, I think it's fair. Miss Vasquez says, we don't have an objection to that, Your Honor. Ben Shu, thank you, Your Honor. The court says, 6/9/2014. All right. Elaine says, Do you know what any of the witnesses said in this trial? Answer. About? I mean, outside of what I described earlier with a friend of mine texting that someone was talking about the trailer palace, I do not. Do you know whether any of the witnesses testified about any jealousy? Other than the tweet that I replied to, no. All right, thank you. Your Honor, may we approach? Do you have any questions? Ms. Vasquez, no. The court. Sir, you can have a seat outside the courtroom. The witness, sure. Can I leave my water? Yes, you can leave your water. Sidebar time. Oh, shit. Where'd it go? Sidebar. Okay. Brederhoff says, so, first, Your Honor, it was 19 days before when they learned he may be a witness. The court. But they said they might not use him as a rebuttal witness. They don't have to provide you with witnesses they think they might provide as rebuttal. That's not a rule. Your Honor, if I may, according to Mr. Knight, there was no communication with Ms. Vasquez until last night. They supplemented with him on Sunday, so they obviously knew he was going to be a witness. On Sunday, they knew he was going to be a rebuttal witness. Right. But if they didn't talk to him until last night, if they didn't know he was going to be a rebuttal witness, back when they talked to him on May 3rd, then the fact that they talked to him last night would have been that they already identified him. Right? They can identify him as a rebuttal witness and they can speak with him before he testifies. I don't see what the issue is. Ms. Brederhoff. Then the second issue, Your Honor, is once he learns that Hicksville has been raised here, he runs a trailer search and he can't remember any of the others. But this one, Your Honor, it's indiscernible. I can see it. Ms. Brederhoff, I think it's very important because here we have the umbrella guy saying Johnny Depp will be accused of being jealous because a woman was sitting close to Amber Heard. Depp said that she had taken Happy something, and then Depp was accused of removing her hand and yelling at Amber. Then she responds back, that never happened. I was all with them that night. Amber was the one acting jealous and crazy. So he's commenting on this, and he knows what this testimony is. The court. Again, on that night, it hadn't happened yet. It had not happened yet. It was April something. 21st, the court, it hadn't happened yet. So he's not commenting on testimony that happened in this trial. He's commenting on whatever the person posted. Elaine, Your Honor, I think that's just manifestly unfair and prejudicial to us. Hicksville has been around for years here, and the fact that they said it out of the blue, want to call and talk to him, in the middle of the trial makes no sense at all. We even had a court order. They say that they had to provide whatever receipts they have for the damage to Hicksville. They gave us nothing. Obviously, they would have to investigate that. Ms. Vasquez. Water? It's in the bathroom, I think, or in our room. Yeah. Can you turn on the AC? It's hot. Okay, so this is the part where I don't think Elaine knew what was coming to her for the Hicksville incident. So Elaine says, I just want to reiterate this. Elaine says, we even had a court order that they said they had to provide whatever receipts they have for the damage. Just remember that. For the damage to Hicksville. They gave us nothing. Obviously, they would have to investigate that. Camille says, we will hear why. Trust me, everyone will hear why. So Camille, something's up. Something's going on. Morgan Knight's going to testify to something. And it seems like Elaine Brederhoff doesn't know what's going to happen. So the court says, if we can bring the focus back to these factors where we're at now. Ms. Brederhoff, all right, Your Honor, the court. So these are the factors. Do you have anything else to say about the factors? Ms. Brederhoff, so Your Honor, in propriety, the fact that they knew on May 3rd and didn't identify until May 22nd, I thought it's the impropriety of the witness. Let's focus on the witness. Ms. Brederhoff, then I think searching trails to find out what has been said about Hicksville. I think that suggests he's been trying to find out information. I'm sorry, Ms. Brederhoff. No, it's okay. The second thing, Your Honor, is a prejudice to us. If we had known on May 3rd, we could have said, Your Honor, let us do a 30-minute deposition or something so we can at least prepare for this so we know something here. You know what Ms. Vasquez has learned of some... what Ms. Vasquez has learned of substantial... Mr. Chu, no effect, I think, is a fair criteria. Ms. Brederhoff. So now we're going to have this person who's going to testify, that he has knowledge, and we have no opportunity for discovery, prepare, or find another rebuttal witness beyond that. The court. That's what rebuttal witnesses are. Mr. Chu, Your Honor, there are no impropriety whatsoever. He's not the subject of role and witness. There's clearly no prejudice to this defendant. There's no effect on the testimony. He's going to say exactly what his recollection was. What their objection to is he's going to tell the truth, and the truth is inconsistent with what Ms. Heard has said. Oof. Oof. The court. Anything further? Elaine. The court. Well, weighing the factors in this matter. Judy, can you hear me okay? Weighing the factors in this matter, I don't think the party intentionally wasn't subject to the rules. But as soon as he was contacted about possibly being a rebuttal witness, he did not watch anything. He hasn't learned anything substantive, its aspects of the case, or anything from earlier testifying witnesses other than security guard. He testified here something about the security guard, but other than that, nothing would shape his testimony to correspond with any of the earlier witness. And if there's any prejudicial value, the probative value outweighs the prejudice. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. The court, at this point, I will allow him to testify. The witness will be limited. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. All right. That was sidebar number 15. Now, Morgan Knight will be on the stand. All right, so Mr. Morgan Knight, what are you going to say? Did there come a time in the evening that you observed Mr. Depp and Miss Heard have an agreement or an argument? Yes, I was speaking with Mr. Depp just one-on-one, talking about Hicksville, and Miss Heard came over and she said, I want to talk to you, and seemed really upset about something. So I went and back in the house because it was really, they went off on their own and she just started yelling at him. I didn't want to hear it. It honestly was really triggering because I have been in an emotionally abusive relationship before. Objection, move to strike. The court, what's your objection? Your Honor, may we approach? Okay, sure. Ms. Bredahop. So he's testified that she was yelling, and he said he wanted to go away because he's been in an abusive relationship before. Your Honor, that's not appropriate for the jury. That's non-responsive to the question. It's prejudicial and it's hearsay. Ms. Vasquez. Why is it hearsay? The court, it's not hearsay. Ms. Bredahop. But it's not responsive to the statement. The court, non-responsive. I'll sustain that to non-responsive. Ms. Vasquez. Okay. Now, at this point, this is where I think Elaine gets blindsided. Elaine's talking about the damages. Where are the receipts? We want the receipts. And, you know, Camille Vasquez previews, oh, trust me, you'll know why. You'll see why. You'll see what happens. So at this point, again, Morgan Knight is still on the stand. Elaine gets blindsided. And we're going to read all the way to where they talk about the mesh shirt because I just thought that was funny. Okay, so sidebar number 6946. Does it like get blindsided? Okay. Okay, so did something happen that caused you to go to Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's trailer? Answer, yes, I was informed that. Ms. Bredhoff, objection, hearsay. Ms. Vasquez, it's not being offered for the truth, Your Honor. When we approach on this one topic, sure, thank you. He needs to be able to testify that he was called or summoned to the trailer to observe the damage. The court, okay. So he's just going to say that as an innkeeper informed him that there was damage, he needs to go to assess it. That's it. Not being offered for the truth. Ms. Bredhoff, it is offered for the truth. The court, don't you want to hear about the damage? Oh my gosh. The court says, don't you want to hear about the damage? Ms. Vasquez, don't you want that? Elaine, yes. The court, then let him tell them about the damage. Ms. Bredhoff, I'll withdraw. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. Back in open court. Camille says, what, if anything, happened the next morning, Mr. Knight? Answer, the innkeeper let me know that there was some damage in one of the trailers, and it happened to be Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's trailer. So I wanted to inspect the trailer because I was extremely worried. All these trailers that Steve and I worked on were like my babies. And the one that they were staying in, the only one that was mostly original and restored, 1950 style. So I was very concerned. Question. So what did you observe when you went to the trailer? I observed that there was a light sconce by the bathroom and the bedroom that had been broken off the wall. And a couple pieces were on the floor. And yeah, it was basically just broken. The light fixture was hanging on the wall still, except for the pieces that were on the floor. Did you come to understand how that happened? Ms. Bredhoff, objection, foundation. The court, lay a foundation. I'll sustain as a foundation. How he knew. Did you ask how the sconce was broken? Objection, hearsay. The court, sustain. How often do light fixtures in the trailers break? They break pretty often. It's not like a usual thing, but things in the trailer generally get broken because it's all vintage trailer. I would say as much as every couple weeks there's some incident of damage in one of the trailers. In this case, Mr. Depp had told me that. Objection, hearsay. I'll sustain the objection. Yes, sorry. Question. Beyond the light fixture, was anything else in the trailer damaged? Answer. No, everything was fine. In fact, we have something we call a piggy fee that we address to the guests if there's anything what we call inconsiderate or unusually large messes. We charge them extra for it for a $25 an hour cleaning fee, but they did not receive one of those because everything outside the light fixture looked fine. Well, what's your reaction to seeing the damaged light fixture? Well, to be honest, I was relieved because it was not a big deal. There was already another light in the room, so I just stuck the wires in the wall until I had a few months later time to buy. It was like a matching sconce with another one in the room that I had to, on eBay, find a matching pair that would fit there. And when I finally got around to it, I was able to get that and charge to Nathan, whose credit card I had. And that was your understanding of who Nathan was, Mr. Depp's assistant. And what did you charge Nathan for Mr. Depp for replacing that pair of light fixture? The pair came out to be $62. Oh, man. I wonder if I didn't get to see Elaine's face during this testimony. Elaine was probably like, the damage is the damage. How much was the damage? Come on. What are the damages? And then when Elaine finds out that, maybe Amber lied to her and that it was only a light thing that was broken and the damage was only $62 and that her and her friends may have exaggerated about the damages in the trailer. Oh my God. Now the next question that we all love. While you're on the site, Mr. Knight, did you ever wear a mesh shirt? No, I would absolutely never wear that. Poor Elaine. She gets blindsided. Oh man. Elaine's like, yeah, I want to know the damages. Where are the receipts at? All right, next sidebar, we have Dr. Shaw, the nice guy, was on the stand. Now, Dr. Shaw was the counterpart of Dr. Spiegel, and he is on direct right now. And this is when Dr. Shaw is talking about Dr. Spiegel analyzing Johnny Depp's videotapes. So Nadehoff says, I think now he's past the golden water rule. I think he's criticizing Dr. Spiegel's opinion beyond the golden water rule. The court, do you want to respond? Ms. Cownan, I'm sorry. Again, this is going to how Dr. Spiegel violated the golden water rule. And he includes it in his disclosure. This one? Sorry, I don't see how he violated giving an opinion about, I did read that one in the subparagraphs. Mr. Nadehoff, okay. The court, I'm going to try to take a break at 4. They got a break. We didn't. I'm going to try to give him a break at 4, just to let you know. I'm on 45 of 46. Okay. Thank you. All right. So at this point, Dr. Shaw was saying that Dr. Spiegel was breaking the Goldwater rule. Is it called the Goldwater rule? Goldwater rule. Basically assessing and analyzing someone and diagnosing them, but without actually having to meet them. Now we're going to go to day 23. So that's the end of this day. That's about it. Yeah, end of this day. Goodbye. Now we are on day... What day is this? Day 23, May 25th, 2022. We're at the beginning of the trial day. So at this point, we have a lot of rebuttal witnesses coming up. We have Kate Moss, we have Beverly Leonard, who I thought whose testimony was a little bit confusing because when Beverly Leonard testified, she didn't mention that she was a police officer and she didn't mention that she was the one that arrested Amber Heard. So I was like, I don't know if the jury even understood what the importance of her testimony was. I mean, she did say she witnessed Amber Heard, I think hitting her ex-girlfriend at the time. But it would have been more powerful if she was like, oh, I was actually the arresting officer. But they weren't allowed to bring that in, actually. So now we know why. Reading all the sidebars, now we understand why there were certain limitations on certain testimonies, why certain things weren't brought up, and why people couldn't say certain things that us in the background are like, why can't they say this? Why was the testimony so short? Like, why didn't Jennifer Howell mention this? Why didn't she mention that? So now we know. That's why reading the sidebars is pretty cool. Okay. Sidebar number 2, we have Beverly Leonard and Kate Moss. I think this one's kind of long. Ooh, how long is it? 13. Sidebar number... Where's sidebar at? Why is there so many sidebars? Where's sidebar number 1? All right, so these are the easy ones. Okay, so Mr. Roddenborn. The first one is Beverly Leonard. She's the one that was identified last night by them. And they say that this is a witness who reached out to them in the late last night, which is whatever. That's fine. But she is, as best we can tell, she's one of the police officers from the Seattle airport, which you object to have them calling for a couple of different reasons. The first one, Your Honor, is Your Honor's ruling the case, both in limine and during Ms. Heard's examination. No arrest is coming in relating to Tasha Van Ray issue. Your Honor has already ruled on that. Calling a police officer, even if they say, well, we're not going to elicit the testimony she was arrested. That would be like calling the UK judge and saying, we're going to put you in the stand. Don't talk about the ruling. Just talk about the discovery and the witness testimony and all that. The court, all right. We think the jury is going to draw from that. Second, Your Honor, that the type of evidence and the type of testimony is precluded by the collateral evidence rule, which basically says that when somebody's introduced on the cross-examination, a party cannot introduce extrinsic evidence on a collateral matter. What happened in Seattle Airport between Ms. Heard and Ms. Van Ray is a classic example of collateral matter that's barred by the collateral evidence doctrine. It's also barred under 608B, Your Honor. I have a copy if Your Honor would like to see, but under 608B, specific instances of the conduct may not be provided by extrinsic value evidence. And this is a side issue related to the trial. It's about something totally unrelated to this. And so collateral evidence, 608B, and the fact that you would expressly violate or explicitly violate Your Honor's ruling, that the rest is too prejudicial and isn't coming in. Okay. Ms. Vasquez, if I may be heard, Your Honor, I was the one who received an email past 1 a.m. last night, still working with Ms. Myers. I can represent to you that I emailed Ms. Leonard back and asked her to call me my cell phone. I then had a phone call with Ms. Leonard. I confirmed a couple things. She has not been watching the trial. She has not seen the testimony. I have instructed her, per Your Honor's ruling, that she is not to watch the trial, watch testimony. That's not the issue. I understand that. Now, as an attempt, with Your Honor's blessing, to offer Ms. Leonard just to testify as a third-party fact witness as to what she observed. It is rebuttal. It is impeachment. Ms. Heard asked, Your Honor's aware, allowed me to ask Ms. Heard whether she assaulted her ex-girlfriend. She denied doing so. I then asked Ms. Heard whether people saw it. She denied that people saw it. Oof. Oof. Oh, man. Amber did not know that these people were going to come up on the stand. Oh, my goodness. Does it really surprise me? No, not really. Because remember, she also lied about having all these injuries when she was like taking high-res photo quality red carpet pictures days or immediately the day following after these injuries would have occurred. So, damn. The court. So you're saying this witness actually saw this? Ms. Vasquez. Yes, she witnessed the assault. She's the arresting officer. Ms. Bruderhoff. No, she's not. Ms. Vasquez, I can represent to the court as an officer of this court that she would not testify that she arrested Ms. Heard. She's only going to testify. She can't testify. She's an officer either. Ms. Vasquez, she's not an officer anymore. She's now retired. If you would like her not even testify, she cannot say anything about being an officer, just somebody at the airport. And that's the part that I was confused. I was like, wait, why did they never mention that she was a police officer? And now we're getting our answer. Ms. Vasquez, somebody at the airport, she observed Ms. Heard hit Ms. Van Ray, rip off her necklace, leaving marks on her neck. That's what she's going to testify to. Man, if only we can get like security cam footage of the whole thing. The court, all right. Mr. Roddenborn, it's a plainly collateral matter. It's a mistrial. It's a collateral matter just as we were to bring someone on to testify about something Johnny did. Oh my God, no! I forgot about this argument. Oh, I think Ben forgot about one other witness. So Mr. Roddenborn says it's plainly collateral matter. It's a mistrial. It's a collateral matter just as we were to bring someone on to testify about something Johnny did 30 years ago. It's collateral matter. It's not relating. The court says, well, you did. Vasquez says, Ellen Barkin. Mr. Roddenborn, understood. Mr. Roddenborn, did you forget about Ellen Barkin? Oh, no. The court, how is that not allowed? Mr. Roddenborn, under 608B, Your Honor, specific instances of conduct may not be proved by extrinsic evidence. The court, what was Miss Barkin? Mr. Roddenborn, Ms. Barkin was testifying about the facts of her time and experience. The court, with specific incident. Mr. Roddenborn, which didn't come in cross-examination, Your Honor, blessed before the trial. It's a totally separate issue. They could have argued that. They didn't object to that. Your Honor, I mean 608B is very clear that specific instances of the conduct may not be proved by extrinsic evidence. They were allowed to elicit testimony by Ms. Heard on that. The court, she denied it. Ms. Vasquez, she denied it. The court, she denied it, that it happened. So for impeachment purposes, they can have someone say it happened. Mr. Roddenborn, not under 608B. Can I get a copy of the rule? The court, sure. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. Mr. Roddenborn, specific instances of the conduct of a witness may not be proved by extrinsic evidence except as, and they say except as otherwise provided in this rule. It's not impeachment. If it's impeachment, it's not impeachment. Sorry, if it's impeachment on plainly collateral matter. It's not relating to whether or not Mr. Depp abused Ms. Heard. This is a collateral matter under both the common law collateral evidence doctrine and the rules of evidence, which is not allowed. And her testimony it wasn't false. She said she didn't assault Ms. Vasquez. It's proper rebuttal, Your Honor, and it's impeachment. Ms. Heard said that she did not assault Ms. Van Ray, that people did not see it. That's exactly what Ms. Leonard tends to testify about. The court, I don't find that it's a collateral matter in this. I don't find that it's a collateral matter in this matter because Ms. Heard testified that she always does self-defense. She only hits in self-defense. Oof, oof, oof. Oh my God. And that's where expert also testified that always hits in self-defense. That's why I allowed the question to begin with to Ms. Heard at the one time when she was on the stand in cross-examination. She said it did not happen. I will allow the testimony. Very limited though. Understood, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. As an officer of the court, I will represent she will not testify that she was formerly a police officer or that she was arrested or she arrested Ms. Heard. The court, very limited testimony. Ms. Vasquez, understood. Will be allowed in this matter based on that for impeachment purposes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Next one, Mr. Rondenborg wants to talk about Kate Moss. Second matter, Your Honor, is just to get some parameters of what Kate Moss is allowed to testify to. Okay. I don't have to jump up. Is H&L her? Yeah. The court, there's a lobby. I don't know who it was. Mr. Rondenborg. This is the testimony of Amber related to Kate Moss. It's this one sentence. She said, I just, in my head, instantly think of Kate Moss in the stairs when I swing at him. The court, right. Mr. Rondenborg. So in our interview, asking about Kate Moss, did Johnny ever hurt you in the stairs? That's fair game. The court, anything on the stairs? Ms. Vasquez. It's only related in the stairs, but Your Honor, I will represent that in cross-examination. I also inquired of Ms. Heard what about Ms. Moss she remembered, and she testified in cross-examination that she just heard a rumor. Mr. Chu, may I just, Mr. Rondenborg, I don't remember that part. I don't have that. I don't recall that. I'm not doubting that's what she's saying, but if she heard a rumor, it's a rumor about what happened on the stairs. So what I'm going to say is they shouldn't be allowed to say illicit testimony about, oh, Johnny was so sweet. Johnny never hit me. They want to get back and ask her, a couple questions about did he hit you on the stairs? I think it's fair game. But anything beyond that is beyond the scope of the rebuttal. And I think that's why they're trying to do. I think they're just trying to stem this off now. Mr. Chu, it's just a very short examination. And here's a testimony question. Ms. Vasquez, cross-examination. Mr. Chu, from Ms. Vasquez, you thought he was going to throw your sister down the stairs like he had thrown Kate Moss down the stairs, right? He swung at Whitney and I heard a rumor about that. So that's what I thought of. The court, right? Mr. Chu, she testified at both on direct. The court, okay, yes, about the stairs. Mr. Chu, I wish Mr. Chu was in more of these sidebars. He was basically like the lead counselor. So, everyone else mostly did most of the work and he made sure to oversee everyone. But I wish he was in more of the sidebars because he is a snarky guy and he is very funny. Hi, Gwendolyn. How are you doing today? Hello, hello. It's a very limited inquiry about whether he ever physically harmed her. What we've been doing throughout the Ms. Vasquez, they brought in clearly what she's saying is that Johnny was violent. Clearly what she's saying is that Johnny was violent with her. And she's going to say that's not true. Mr. Rondenborg, that's beyond the scope, Your Honor. The only two times Kate Moss came up in this rumor about what happened on the stairs to get them to elicit testimony about if he was ever violent, which I know is that they're going to try to do. That's beyond the scope. Mr. Chu, they elicit testimony from Ellen Barkin about Johnny throwing a bottle 30 years ago against the wall in a crowded room and being abusive. Mr. Rondenborg, Your Honor has held both parties to objections that are made at the time, and if objections are made at the time, then we waive them. They could have brought up these issues. The court, they object to Ellen Barkin's deposition testimony. Ms. Vasquez, even in motion to eliminate, Your Honor. Mr. Rondenborg, understood. By my understanding, it's not the same basis that we're objecting now. I'm saying this is beyond the scope of this. It's rebuttal testimony. Your Honor has been very strictly the court, but they're saying they're rebutting Ellen Barkin also. Ms. Bredehoff, they never raised it in interrogatories. They can't call Kate Moss to rebut Mr. Rondenborg. They can't call Kate Moss to rebut Ellen Barkin, Your Honor. It's an inappropriate rebuttal testimony. This is the one and only instance where Kate Moss came up, which was a rumor that Johnny had injured her on the stairs, which is limited to Amber. That was a widely circulated rumor. That should be only. I'm just going to limit it to the stairs, okay? Mr. Chu, Your Honor, I understand. The court, the only reason it's coming in is because she opened the door on cross-examination. Ooh, about the stairs. Mr. Chu. But won't the jury think they're not allowed to ask whether he hit her? They're going to think. The court, well, I mean, he could have done it case in chief. I don't know if it would have come in case in chief. But what I'm saying is the only reason it was overruled is because the door was open, because she mentioned Kate Moss on the stairs. She did that, and that's why she's coming in to testify that nothing happened on the stairs. Mr. Chu, may I set the context of how she knows? The court, well, how she knows is fine. Mr. Rondenborg, how she knows him? If it's like you dated for 5 years, that's fine. The court, I just don't want to run afoul of the court's rule. The court, yeah, you can do that. I'm saying you can't ask questions about was he ever violent. Mr. Chu, I understand. The court, focus right on the stairs. Mr. Chu, I got you. Understood, Your Honor. I just want to be clear. I don't want to run afoul. Court says, I appreciate it. Two more, Mr. Roddenborn says. I'll be quick. This is Dr. Collins, who they indicated will be calling today. Dr. Collins is a pathologist who will testify, about some bruising pictures on Amber's face. They designated a longer report of her initial. This is kind of like the Berkovicci situation last week. They designated a longer report of what her initial designations. They didn't put the case in chief. Her rebuttal designations, which were filed at the end of February, consists of that. So we believe that she should not be allowed to testify. They could have put her in the case in chief. They elected not to. All right. So this is the rebuttal designation. Yup. Mrs. Myers, if I may, Your Honor, we designate her as an informative witness, right? But we designate her at the earliest time at which she had to identify our expert witnesses, which was in January 2022. The court, obviously, they can't rebut anything on Dr. Jordan because Dr. Jordan didn't testify. That's true, and we don't intend to have her do that. The court, so previously exposed as to which plaintiff incorporates by reference. What was the first? Mr. Roddenborn. The first designation was quite wholesome, but our point is that's their case in chief. They should have put her on during the case in chief. They just call her during rebuttal. Here's the problem. It's not rebuttal. It's a defense of your counterclaim, right? So that's an issue that you're going to have with some of these witnesses. I have a response to that. So there was an initial expert disclosure. I think it was January 11th or January 10th, something like that. The disclosure for people in the response for the claims. The defense was due February 10th. Okay. Then there was a final rebuttal disclosure. They didn't disclose anything about Collins for February 10th. I just want to ask you guys, do you guys notice how little we were seeing of Elaine after she bombed the Amber Heard direct examination and then during Camille Vasquez during the cross-examination and then how she bombed when she did the rebuttal? I don't know if Elaine asked them to hey, you know what? I need to take a step back. I'm fucking shut up. Or if they were like, yo, Elaine, take a step back, fool. you messing too much up right now. Because we don't really see too much of Elaine. And there's something that I wanted to mention as well. We'll get to it when Amber Heard does a rebuttal. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of Roddenborn here, and I think they may have told Elaine to just kind of step aside, since she screwed up horribly during the rebuttal stuff. Okay, Mr. Roddenborn. Then there was a final rebuttal disclosure. They didn't disclose anything about Collins on February 10th. The court, they did disclose some people on February 10th for the defense, Mr. Roddenborn, but not Collins. The court. All right, so Collins was not listed. So either in the direct case or rebuttal, but not in the counterclaim? Correct. Am I the only reason that she wasn't listed for rebuttal? And the only reason she wasn't listed for rebuttal is Dr. Jordan. We didn't call Dr. Jordan, so she shouldn't be allowed to testify in rebuttal. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, we designate her in affirmative designations. They had a notice as of January 2022. She's the earliest. She's had more notice than it was necessary to put up in rebuttal. And which was designations, which, right? If necessary, I can we identified at the end, we said that we also designate her to testify in rebuttal in response to anything that any witness has testified to. And at this point, well, you can't use an expert rebuttal on lay witness, but an expert in rebuttal can only rebut experts. So we identified her in the initial disclosure. And what was she rebutting? Which expert was she rebutting? We designated her affirmatively at this point. They didn't put any of the photographs of Ms. Heard during our case in chief. So now it's in their defense. It's your rebuttal case. Well, it's in our defense case. You didn't designate her as a defense witness, correct? Your defense expert? I believe we did in reference. The court. Designate as your defense expert? That's a different story. You're saying they didn't designate Mr. Roddenborn. I do not believe she was ever mentioned on February 10th. These are the two. February 10th. All right. So let me see the designations from February 10th. Do we have the designations from February 10th? Sorry. February 10th. I can't say that word. Mr. Roddenborn. Mr. Murphy has those. The court. Does somebody have the designations February 10th? Ms. Vasquez. Your Honor. Ms. Myers. So, Your Honor, first of all, there's no prejudice here. We identified her affirmatively. Yeah, this is a long one. The court. Rebuttal witnesses are only for experts who were disposed in this case. Who is rebutting their expert? Ms. Myers. Well, she's responding to the evidence that came in their defense. No, objection sustained unless you designate them in your defense. Mr. Roddenborn. And I believe the same argument is going to be made for Mr. Neumeister. Was he designating your defense? He's in the affirmative and they didn't bring any experts, so he can testify either. So that's where we're at. We'll just confirm. There was no reference there. We're checking there too. Okay. That's where we are. Okay. Well, that's all we have. Ms. Vasquez, I anticipate, Your Honor, that the rebuttal experts that are counters to Dr. Neumeister and Dr. Collins will also not be allowed to testify in the rebuttal case. The court. Well, yes, because if Dr. Collins gets to testify, Because if Dr. Collins doesn't testify, then they don't get a rebuttal expert either. It works both ways. We wouldn't be able to call Jordan if Neumeister's out. Correct. The court. They can only rebut experts they put in defense. All right. Mr. Nadehoff. Mr. Murphy's looking for February. 10th of February. February 10th. I don't see Collins. This is part of my argument, Your Honor. Neumeister is not in there as well. The court. We have Richard Marks in defense, Mr. Spindler in defense, Mr. Bania, Dr. Curry in defense, Dr. Shaw in defense. That's where we are. All right. So that's where we are. Oh, and the TMZ motion is set for 1 o'clock. So they'll be here at 1 o'clock to argue their motion. Would you like to wait on the motion? Mr. Chu. Yes, Your Honor, we're prepared. The court. It'll be quick, though. Ms. Myers, if I may, I have some exhibits for Jamie that she requested. The court. Sure. Depp attorney. Your Honor, we have a prepared written opposition in the motion to exclude Mr. Neumeister. The court. Would you like to put this in part of your record? Depp attorney. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, that was a long one. Jesus. Oh, yeah. Okay, so now we have Dr. Curry. She's back on the stand, and this is a direct by Mr. Dennison. So we have Elaine here for a little bit. All right, she's testifying outside the scope for designation now, Your Honor. Doctor, and I elicited this from her, and you may recall this before. The only thing she's identified to is whether Ms. Heard has PTSD or not. She's not explicitly testifying. Oh my God. Hold on, let me close the door. Actually, I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. Whew, okay. Good break. Guys, get up, stretch, get some water. Dr. Collins. Who was Dr. Collins again? Is that the one with all the hearsay notes or something? All right, back to Elaine. All right, she's testifying outside the scope for designation, Your Honor. Doctor, and I elicited this from her, and you may recall this before. The only thing she's testifying to is whether Ms. Heard has PTSD or not, and she's not. She's explicitly testifying that she's explicitly not testifying about whether she suffered IPV or not, whether she was a perpetrator, whether she was a victim, whether she suffered any domestic abuse. All those things she's already testified and admitted, those are not part of her opinion. And now she's clearly trying to tell the jury about IPV and assessing whether somebody has suffered from IPV. And that's completely outside of the scope of the designation. Jesus, Elaine, that was fucking wordy as hell. Mr. Dennison. Your Honor, I respectfully disagree with that analysis. This is the root of the problem. There are multiple pages in this report, pages 18 through 23. That reflected each of the tests that they've been asking about and why Dr. Curry believes they were administered incorrectly. I didn't object to those, but now she's testifying on whether someone suffered from IPV or not. And that's absolutely outside of the scope. First of all, I'm not sure that's where she was going. Ms. Bredehoff, she's just trying to say explicitly, she's trying to say that she's trying to figure out whether somebody's suffering from IPV or not. Not that she's going to give an opinion to that. I think she's just discussing. Well, she's definitely not giving an opinion on that. That's some outside the scope. She cannot address whether somebody suffers from IPV or not. She's already admitted that outside. Well, I don't think she's giving an opinion about whether I think she's talking about IPV. She can't talk about IPV. She's confined to PTSD. She cannot. And she said that she did not try to evaluate for IPV. I even elicited from her testimony earlier, nothing about IPV or domestic abuse. Your Honor, she specifically identified that nothing about IPV, other than the tests given by Dr. Hughes, were done inappropriately. And I did not object to what she was testifying to those, Your Honor. But now she's talking about whether you have a crystal ball, whether you can determine whether somebody suffered from IPV or not. And that's outside the scope. It's not anywhere a part of her testimony. I believe the answer was in relation to the use of the checklist. Overrule the objection. Make sure it's within the test, okay? Thank you. All right, thank you. Another objection by Elaine. I think Dr. Curry's still on the stand. Elaine says, very explicitly, she's not testifying about, and I elicited in the trial testimony early, she's not testifying about whether Ms. Hurst suffered any PTSD as a result of defamatory statements. Explicitly testified she's not. It's not anywhere in the report. It's not in her rebuttal report. She's admitted that on the stand. She's not the one was not asked to address that. Her answer, and it's his last answer of this inquiry, is there no PTSD to be triggered? Still, she's trying to connect to defamation. She can say there's no PTSD, but she cannot connect to defamation. She did not disclose that opinion. She's going to bring it up in a defamation. Is that the issue? All it literally says, it brings in the current time frame. There's no effort to connect it to other than they're saying there's no PTSD to be triggered. I think you can state there is no PTSD to be triggered. I get that. I disagree, Your Honor. He's bringing the defamation, letting her give an opinion about whether she has PTSD as a result of defamation. And she explicitly said she's not speaking to that. Okay, you cannot ask about the defamation, but he can ask no PTSD has been triggered. I can do that and not talk about it. All right. Long discussion about more rebuttal witnesses. All right, who are we discussing now? We're discussing, is this a picture with Amber Heard? Okay, so these are the pictures. I think Amber Heard's injuries. All right, let's talk about this one. This one's gonna be a long one. Dr. Collins was Johnny's forensic pathologist. Her testimony was going to be on bruising, laceration, scars, and contusions. Dr. Collins? Forensic pathologist. Oh. And they never testified. Okay. Harry Potter books? Oh, Jesus. She was going to testify about the bruising and Amber's injuries and how they could not be real medically. Oh. All right. Long discussion. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, I think earlier when we were discussing the expert issue, we're going backwards. I understand that, but that's why I wanted to grab this. Sure. This is our rebuttal designations, right? We incorporate by reference the affirmation designation of both Mr. Neumeister and Dr. Collins, right? And so we're offering to rebut, not as a fact witness, but evidence that was represented in the defensive case. We understand that rebuttal evidence is evidence that a plaintiff offers to explain or repel evidence that the defendant offered. It's only to rebut an expert. Your Honor, I think the rule, I didn't work that way when I didn't let the experts testify. Well, Your Honor, I think that was a different issue because the expert was only designated in rebuttal to rebut the testimony for expert doctor or Ms. Frost. In this case, we designate them affirmatively in fairness, the court, in our case in chief, and those are affirmative. That's not in your defense. But this is also in our rebuttal case, Your Honor. We identified them as rebuttal witness that incorporated their expert testimony from the affirmative designations. Right. So you could have called them your case in chief. But we also designate them as a rebuttal witness that would testify to what? To rebut the evidence that was provided during an expert can only rebut an expert. So, Your Honor, my understanding is that an expert can be called. It is reversible error if I let an expert testify unless they're designated. So we designated reversible error is what I'm trying to avoid in this case. I understand, Your Honor. So it's my understanding that the rule is not that an expert cannot be called in rebuttal unless they're rebutting another expert, but they can be called an expert. Under that rule, an expert can never be called in rebuttal if there's no expert testimony in the defense case. Okay. And so what we are basically during their defense case, so the issue of fairness, in our affirmative case, I would like to make a record if I may. Yes, sure. Right. So the testimony of our expert, Mr. Neumeister and Dr. Collins, only became relevant once the photographed evidence of Ms. Hurst's purported injuries came into evidence. We cannot control that we obviously are not offering that they did not offer when they were crossing Mr. Depp or anyone else in the case in chief. They tried to offer it when they did the depositions of the police officers, which was objected to. And then it came in during the defensive case. So the testimony of Mr. Neumeister and Dr. Collins only became relevant once that evidence came in during the defensive case. And so we are now offering, which trials are fluid. We can't anticipate when or if a certain evidence will come in. Photographs only come in during the defensive case, as well as Ms. Heard's testimony about how those injuries occurred. And so now after their defensive case, the testimony of Mr. Neumeister and Dr. Collins has now become relevant based off the evidence that they put in. And we submit that those experts, because we designated them at the first available date, we have designated what they intend to testify about at that time. And then we incorporate by reference that testimony that would respond to any photographic evidence, any purported injuries. We identified that when we submitted the experts for a rebuttal case, as well as identifying them to rebut the certain experts if they put them out. But we identified them as rebuttal witnesses who could testify about photographic evidence and other injuries that came in during the defensive case. So we submit that's proper and fair to permit them to testify. Mr. Rottenborn, I don't have anything to add to the arguments from this morning, Your Honor, unless you have any questions. The court. So they're saying they're incorporate as their expert designated from their case in chief. The evidence came up with a photograph in your case, and therefore they can bring an expert to talk in about the photograph, which I believe is their argument. Mr. Rottenborn, they could have put the expert in on their case in chief. They obviously objected, as Your Honor pointed out, to our attempt to get the picture in. And for all the reasons we discussed this morning and Your Honor ruled, they're going backwards. The court. Mr. Murphy, do you want to talk? This is your motion. So Mr. Murphy is one of Amber Heard's attorneys. Yes, absolutely, Your Honor. Mr. Neumeister, Your Honor, the exact argument on Mr. Berkovici. I have the transcript, and that was the expert that was here to rebut the facts. And Your Honor said, no, experts essentially rebut experts. Now they're trying to say that that's what they argued against. Their expert is here to rebut the facts. This is a complete contradiction, Berkovici, from my understanding of it looking at the transcript. Well, Berkovici was just a rebuttal expert. What they're trying to say is differences. So I want to get through this. And this is actually what they had him designated also in their case in chief. They did. They didn't call him. They also would have called Ms. Heard in the case in chief and put the photographs. They chose not to. That's, again, their choice. That's not no reason they can put an expert to rebut the factual testimony when he wasn't identified in the disclosure. And the rebuttal disclosure says he's here over and over to rebut Ms. Ackard and who has not testified. Well, no, it also says incorporates the case in chief. Mr. Murphy. Well, in the line above that, Your Honor, if you can just insert incorporates everything previously in the case, but every expert disclosure, it would just defeat the purpose of what the specific testimony is and specific disclosures and specific parts of the case. I mean, Mr. Rottenborn said Your Honor ruled on this morning, and we're trying to go backwards. Well, I just want to make sure we get it right. Ms. Bredehoff, the incorporation, if you recall, Your Honor didn't let me have Dr. Hughes testify on things that we incorporate by reference to the designation for our testimony. Ms. Myers, so, Your Honor, a couple things. We can't be punished for not calling defendant in our case in chief. The reason we objected to the pictures were foundational because there had not been a foundation laid for those photographs. And we saw some of these photographs actually did end up coming in for various reasons. So these experts truly become relevant. Look, we couldn't have it anticipated that. We identified them in case these paragraphs did come in and that testimony did come in our case in chief. It did not. And then in defendants, they offered it. I think, an expert can be called to rebut factual evidence. Does anyone have a case law for me? Any case law? Ms. Myers, we looked very hard. There's not a clear case law on this either way. The court, there's a reason for that. Mr. Rottenborn, they clearly knew they could have designated and called the experts in their case in chief because they put them in the January designations. Designated them in their defense, but they didn't. This is all rebuttal case. We're offering these not as defense witness, but we're rebutting. So you're offering them as rebuttal. Then they didn't testify. Well, we're offering them to rebut evidence that came in during the case in their defensive case. All the case law I've ever read says that you can't use an expert to rebut lay witness testimony. But it's not just lay witness testimony. We're rebutting fact, documentary, photographic evidence that came in through lay witnesses, right? Yeah, but I think that, again, the role cannot be an expert, can't be unless called they're rebutting another expert. I think it has, I'll tell you what, I'll give you until lunchtime to find me a case that says in rebuttal an expert can testify. Even though an expert did not testify in direct, all right, I'll give him a chance, give me a case law. At some point, we just need to move on, says Mr. Rottenborn. The court, I'm just giving them an hour and then we'll just move on, okay? So we'll give you until lunchtime, which I guess will be around, I'm not really sure. Who's up next? Ms. Myers, if we cannot call Dr. Collins, I think we'll call Mr. Depp at this time. We'll do that. So we're just near the end. We're probably not going to have any testimony tomorrow. Is that what we're thinking? Even if we get these witnesses in? Ms. Vasquez. So there's another issue, Your Honor. Our expert, Dr. Gilbert, who is rebutting and was designated just to rebut Dr. Moore, the hand surgeon, he can only testify in person tomorrow. The court, okay. He's scheduled to fly this evening. The court, well, I don't think the jury has any problems with me releasing them early. We can work on jury instructions if that's the case. Were you planning on any rebuttal on witnesses? Elaine, yes, Your Honor. We're planning on calling Dr. Hughes and Amber Heard. That's it. And both are relatively short. Honestly, I think they should not have called Amber Heard on the rebuttal because she got completely destroyed by Camille Vasquez, and I understand they got Roddenborn to do the direct examination in the rebuttal, but still, like Amber Heard on the stand was just like she killed their case. I don't know. And it seems like she didn't really do any. If anything, she did worse in rebuttal. She was way more defensive. She was way more irate, and she didn't come across very well in the rebuttal. Court says, is there any, well, okay, I guess it depends on this and the issue. Ms. Myers, and Your Honor, if I may, Ms. Vasquez just reminded me of this. I do believe, especially with respect to Dr. Collins, her testimony is rebutting the evidence that came in from Dr. Moore, who designated about Mr. Depp's finger injury, that it was designated her an affirmative disclosure. Okay. No, I'll wait. Ms. Myers, and I believe that she can also be designated to come. I think she's also rebutting the testimony from Dr. Hughes that Ms. Heard's injuries resulting from IPV were more severe than Mr. Depp, and she testified to the severity of the injuries. So I think those some information that were disclosed in our affirmative designations identified in the rebuttal, which under Your Honor's ruling can be offered to rebut expert testimony. Mr. Roddenborn, a couple things, Your Honor. She designated to rebut the opinions of Dr. Jordan. Ms. Myers, but she's also designated, her original designations are also incorporated by reference. Mr. Roddenborn, if I may finish, Your Honor. Ms. Myers, on rebuttal, Mr. Roddenborn, Dr. Moore was not designated until February. Ms. Myers just told you that she is designated to rebut the opinions of Dr. Moore. That's not true. Ms. Myers, I did not. Mr. Roddenborn, you did just say that. She was designated to rebut the opinion of Dr. Jordan, and I have her testimony where I ask her, are you rebutting the testimony of Dr. Moore? And she says, no. I want to. I can just get it from the outline. Ms. Vasquez, if I may, Your Honor, just briefly be heard. I'll wait. Court, yes, wait. Ms. Vasquez, if I may briefly be heard on that point, She, in the affirmative designation, Dr. Collins opined as to the cause of the finger injury. Okay. Mr. Roddenborn, here's page 87. The court, I have to go by the designations. You understand that. Ms. Vasquez, we do. The court, again, we're not getting reversible error in this case. Ms. Vasquez, we understand, Your Honor. The court, I'll read the designations of the rule. Mr. Roddenborn, just because they told you that she was rebutting Dr. Moore's testimony, please just read that. The court, you're not offering any expert opinion in reaction to or in rebuttal to Dr. Moore's opinion. Correct. Ms. Myers, okay, so Your Honor, I think that's a deposition. Ms. Myers, I understand that. Your Honor, I think the point is that we've identified her about the testimony about her affirmative designations as a potential rebuttal evidence, and we could not have known whether Dr. Moore was coming in. Her testimony, she's not rebutting Dr. Moore specifically. She won't opine on his things, but her testimony about the finger injury is exploratory, rebuts what Dr. Moore is testifying to. The court, that needs to be designated. I have to go by the designations, okay? Ms. Myers, I understand. So that we're clear. Now, if you want to find me something the next hour on Mr. Neumeister, we'll take that up. Ms. Myers, well, I think the issue is that, the case law that you asked us to look for is whether an expert can be offered to rebut factual evidence that didn't necessarily come in through an expert witness, right? We will look for them because that would apply to both of them. Mr. Roddenborn, I would disagree. That's the only issue. We could see what they come up with. We still think there's an initial rebuttal things. As Rana will remember with Mr. Bokovici, he said, I'll testify in rebuttal to Mr. Frost. And there was a comma. And he said, Oxford comma, Mr. Roddenborn, I'm not going backwards on that. I'm just saying that was something that was designated. The court, well, I think he was just designated as a rebuttal expert. I think this is apples and oranges, but I have never seen, I don't want to create reversible error. I have just never seen an expert rebut lay testimony. Mr. Roddenborn, particularly when they have an opportunity when they designated the court, and I even took the metadata out of it. So there's not any metadata in the evidence. Ms. Myers, I understand that. I think particularly with respect to Dr. Collins, it's not so much that she's not responding to lay testimony. She's providing an expert opinion to explain the factual evidence that came in during the defense's case. The court, that's a no for sure. So if you want, Mr. Chu, Your Honor, may we have until 1 since we have the argument at 12? The court, okay. Ms. Brederhoff, Your Honor, we have our experts. We're releasing them all. The court, excuse me. You're releasing, you have Dr. Ackert here. I can only give you until noon. Mr. Chu, what's that, Your Honor? The court, yeah, I can only give you until noon to see what you can find out, okay? I don't think there's going to be much there. Mr. Roddenborn, thank you, Your Honor. The court, I'm not creating reversible error. You have to understand this. Ms. Vasquez, we do understand that. The only point I'll make is that I don't understand that how a party can designate a rebuttal witness. The court, rebuttal expert. Ms. Vasquez, a rebuttal expert witness only to testify if the defense puts on an expert. The court, that's what rebuttal experts are in Virginia. Ms. Vasquez, I understand, but we'll find the case law, I hope. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. All right, so they're arguing about, so obviously we find out that Neumeister, I think he does come back, doesn't he? Yeah, Neumeister comes back, but the other Dr. Collins or Dr. Collins doesn't come in. But Neumeister, I think, was the one that testified about the pictures, right? How Amber Heard had 2 pictures, but both of them were very different looking because one looked like it had like some bruising while the other one just looked like it had like reddening on her face. It looked like she took the picture and then probably like photo edited or someone photo edited and made it a lot more saturated to make it look like there was actual bruisings on her face. But the original one did not look like that. All right, so at this point we have, sorry, these are very long sidebars, but I think some of these are going to get shorter. At this point, we have JD back on the stand. Oops. And they're going to talk about poop on the bed. I wonder whose poop on the bed. Is it the dog's poop or is it Amber Heard's poop? All right, poop on the bed, sidebar number 11. Oh my God, the poop thing is so gross. All right, so Roddenborn. I don't know where he's going with his testimony on the problem, but if he's going to talk about the dog issues and the visas in Australia, Your Honor has already made a couple rulings, I believe, in this case. That's a collateral issue. That's something that's not going in. The court, at the motion in limine, I said I wouldn't allow it in testimony, but then Ms. Brederhoff in her opening statement kind of threw everything out. Ms. Brederhoff, Mr. Roddenborn, about an Australia dog? I don't. The court, about the dog poop in Australia? The court, no, that's a different dog. The court, oh, that's different. Mr. Roddenborn, she addressed the dog poop on the bed. Believe me, I wish I had it. Did she? I don't remember Elaine's opening statement. Did Elaine bring up the dog poop on the bed? And Roddenborn's like, oh God, fucking Elaine, why? Yeah, apparently Yorkies take a shit the size of a human shit. I don't know how Yorkies can shit that much. They apparently have gaping buttholes or something. The court, yes, okay. So you're just going to talk about the dogs getting into Australia? Mr. Roddenborn, Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp had brought the dogs to Australia. The court, right, I understand that. Mr. Roddenborn, but that Your Honor has been kept out. Ms. Myers, so Your Honor, I can assure you that he understands that he cannot. Mr. Roddenborn, he just said. Ms. Myers, yes, he understands he can't reference like legal issues. He's just going to say there's an issue, generally. Mr. Roddenborn, he just testified that there's a problem with her getting in Australia. That goes over the line. Ms. Myers, I don't believe that's true, Your Honor. I understood Your Honor's ruling. We try to get the fact of her pleading guilty to the false form issue, and we understand that's the court. He's going to say there was problems. What else is he going to say? Ms. Myers, he's just explaining that because there was a problem, he was asked to intercede with Warner Brothers. He was asked to intercede with Warner Brothers. I assure that he's not going to touch the specifics at all. Intercede with Warner Brothers. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means either. Even just saying that there was a problem, I think it runs afoul. The court, I think that saying there was a problem is fine. We're not going to get into the problems was or anything about Ms. Heard. Yes, Your Honor. Okay, that's fine. And then there's, okay, if he was asked to intercede with Warner Brothers, who's he going to testify he was asked by other than Ms. Heard? Amber. He's just saying that Ms. Heard, my understanding is he got this information from Ms. Heard, which wouldn't be hearsay, is a statement of party opponent. Well, we can just take it as it comes. Take it one at a time. Okay, appreciate it. At this point, sidebar. JD throws a jab at Roddenborn, and they talk about the Kate Moss Stairs incident. Oh, I might have chuckled at this sidebar, actually. 7204. Okay. 72048. Mr. Depp, do you recall Ms. Heard testifying that she punched you in the staircase incident because she thought of Kate Moss and the stairs? Yes, I do remember her saying that. Yes. Yes, I do. 3 times. Yes, I do. Do you have any understanding as to what Ms. Heard was referring to? Yes, I do. And as Kate testified, it was many, many years ago. Exactly what happened, what she said happened. I recall speaking to Ms. Heard about that very incident because of the downpouring of the rain, because it was raining very heavily that day that Kate slipped. And I recalled the story to her. Objection, Your Honor, hearsay. May we approach, Your Honor? Okay. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, this goes to Ms. Heard's knowledge. It's not being offered for the truth, but the fact that he told it to her. She testified that she implied very strongly that Mr. Depp had thrown Miss Moss down the stairs, and if she knew that it was not true, she's certainly relevant to assessing her credibility. Mr. Roddenborn, she didn't imply that at all. She just saw the testimony this morning. You said she heard rumors that had happened, and that went through her head. The court, I overrule the objection. Mr. Roddenborn, okay. Please continue, Mr. Depp. What did you tell Miss Heard about the staircase or Kate Moss? Answer, I'll make it easier for Mr. Roddenborn. Miss Heard took the story and turned it into a very ugly incident, all in her mind. There was never a moment where I pushed Kate Moss down any set of stairs, yet she skewed this 3 times before. Mr. Roddenborn, objection, Your Honor. Miss Heard simply testified she heard a rumor, and that's non-responsive to the question. The question. What's the witness? What's the rumor? The court. Sir, hold on. There's an objection. Witness. Sorry. The court. I'll overrule the objection. Mr. Roddenborn misstates the facts and evidence. The court. I'll overrule the objection. Answer. Sorry, I was drawn by Mr. Roddenborn's voice. What would you like? Question. So what specifically had you actually told Miss Heard about the incident with Miss Moss and the stairs? Answer. Very simply that we were in Jamaica. I had left our bungalow about 3 minutes prior to her. I was standing outside and suddenly rain starts coming down like it's, a monsoon. And then I remember looking and seeing Kate coming out of this door, and then there was 3 little wooden stairs. She slipped and her legs went up, indicating, and that she landed directly on her coccyx, on her lower back. She was obviously physically in pain. She was hurt. She was crying. So I ran over and grabbed to make sure she was all right. That's it. That's the whole story. But then the rumor of it, I've never heard a rumor of like that before Miss Heard grabbed a hold of it like that. I'm sorry. Now we're talking about JD's donation. Sidebar number 14. Okay, so lots of sidebars with JD being on the stand, and Mr. Roddenborn says, this was covered in motions eliminate. Your Honor, they put in a testimony in their case in chief for Mr. Mendel where he said Mr. Depp does not spend very much money on charity. I believe that opens the door for him to rebut that. Mr. Roddenborn, I have no objection to that. I don't remember that testimony, but I'm not doubting her. But if that came in, I have no objection to the limited thing. But if he's going to talk about some, is this the only question on this? Asked Judge Penny. Mr. Roddenborn, if that's the only question, I have no objection to it. But if they try to go beyond that, I think it runs afoul of the motion. Do you think Amber or Elaine should have coached H not to settling things on the stand so she doesn't open any doors? H didn't give a damn. I think Amber was the one that was probably giving direction to her lawyers, and they were probably just like, I don't know. I think she was the one that took the reins, man. I think they probably tried helping her. They probably tried coaching her, but I don't know. I don't know if she really even listened to them. She did so bad on the stand. Horribly bad. I think maybe having Johnny lose the UK case, I think that just I don't know, that went into her ego even more. Like all the things that have happened in the past 6 years where they got a divorce, she did the TRO thing, took a picture, the public felt bad for her, they felt sorry for her, people were on her side. She did her press release tour talking about being a victim of DV. The UK thing, getting Aquaman, I think it was just all going to her head, and I think she probably had an ego that was probably the size of, I don't know, a fucking whale or something. And yeah, I don't know. I think she was the one that was probably calling the shots. I don't know. That's what I'm assuming. But that's a lot of assumptions that I'm making. All right, so back in open court. Mr. Depp, just to remind you, my question was, what's your response to Mr. Mendel's testimony that you do not spend very much on charity? Answer. My response is that Mr. Mendel is a very bitter man. And the one thing about me, myself personally, with regard to charity donations, sending money to a charity, I wouldn't want that. I would rather that my name was not on it. I don't want to be the name to be the important thing or the thing that people talk about. So when I donate without my name being involved because I don't see that that's important, my name being there in terms of money. Now, if I'm able to visit hospitals, if I'm able to meet with Make-A-Wish children, I've held on to the relationships that I held on to within the Make-A-Wish Foundation and the Children's Hospital and the various other places. And obviously, my name is involved. When we had the premieres in the Leicester Square for several films of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, objection, Your Honor, this is again beyond the scope of a response to Mr. Mendel's testimony. Ms. Myers, I believe this is a response to Mr. Mendel. The court overruled the objection. Johnny Depp continues. Basically, when it was a public, let's call it a donation or whatever, I would talk to the studio. I would talk to Disney. I would talk to Warner Brothers. I would talk to whoever the studio was well before the premiere and make the premiere a benefit that would, once we did a benefit premiere for a great Almond Street Hospital. We did a couple of benefit premieres for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I mean, if you can turn a premiere with that many thousands and thousands of people there into a benefit, it works and it helps. But it wasn't presented under my name, It was Disney doing this or Warner Brothers doing this. I'm not looking for the pat on the back, as it were. If I can make it happen, great. But I don't need a pat on the back. I don't need the adulation. I don't need the attention. Oh man, if it was Amber Heard doing it, she'd probably have her name plastered all over it. Hey Sam, how are you doing today? Question. Did you hear Miss Heard testify that one of the charities she donated a portion of your divorce settlement to was Children's Hospital of Los Angeles? Yes. What was your relationship with Children's Hospital of Los Angeles? Objection, Your Honor, irrelevant to the issue. Maybe your pressure, Your Honor. Your Honor, this is a different rebuttal point. This is Mr. Depp had a previous relationship with the Children's Hospital of LA when Miss Heard selected that as one of her places to make a donation. Ooh, and I bet she only chose it just to make a jab at Johnny Depp. And I think we saw her statement about the donation. When he donated the money to Children's Hospital LA, she said this was a newfound interest in the charity. Mr. Ronenborn, that's really an attenuated attempt to rebuttal. It's not relevant. The court, well, she testified. Mr. Ronenborn, it's not relevant. And also, they brought out in cross-examination of her. First of all, they brought out the statement, didn't they? I believe it was during the cross of Ms. Heard, Ms. Myers. The CHLA came in on her direct, though. Mr. Ronenborn, understood. But the statement that Ms. Myers was referring to, I believe it came on Ms. Vasquez's cross. I'm not going to say I'm 100% certain of that, but I believe it did. Number two, this is the kind of thing that we've been afraid of the whole time, which is they're going to talk about him going to Children's Hospital LA in pirate costumes. And you heard Mr. Chu talk about how she doesn't care about sick kids and all that nonsense. It's totally unrelated. They're trying to get into, to have him say that he marches around in a pirate costume. That's so beyond the scope of rebuttal. Oh man, they're so scared of this. They're so scared to let the jury know that Johnny Depp actually does things for Children's Hospital. Meanwhile, Amber Heard just lies about donating to them. Yeesh. The court, I haven't heard any of the testimony yet. There was evidence in our examination about these issues. I'll allow. Mr. Ronenborn, there's evidence of what? Her donating to CHLA? She's saying that when he made his donation in the area, that's how it was made. Something along those lines. I mean, I guess I don't. I guess if it's going to be like, hey, I gave CHLA in the past, that's fine. But if he's going to talk about walking around in pirate costumes and what a great guy is with respect to CHLA, I think that goes beyond the sort of any sort of impeachment. Your Honor, I think also note that Ms. Heard's affirmative testimony, she did testify about in her youth volunteering at soup kitchens. This is really, if they're going to bring this in to bolster her character, the court, that's not allowed. I understand. I'll allow the question. Okay, understood. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. They threw that in really quick when Amber Heard went up there to testify. She briefly mentioned when she was younger, she would testify. She would volunteer at the soup kitchen. It was thrown in so abruptly, and they didn't really go into much details about it. Oh yeah. Mr. Depp, what is your relationship with CHLA? Mr. Depp says, I've had a relationship with CHLA for probably 20 years or so. And what's the nature of the relationship? Well, since sometimes there are Make-A-Wish kids who are in the hospital there and their wishes too. Objection, Your Honor. Your Honor, may we approach? Next sidebar. Which one are we in? Sidebar 16. Okay. Your Honor, this is why. This is the relationship with CHLA. I mean, this is how you can ask limited questions. That was part of the rebuttal. Okay, 20 years. Now let's move on. Mr. Ronenborn, that's kind of the problem with the limited question with him is she can say what happened. We all know where his testimony is going. The court, we're working on one at a time. All right. If I may, okay. In anticipation, I appreciate that. I was going to ask whether Ms. Heard knew about the relationship with CHLA. Irrelevant. What will be the relevance of that? She testified he was not charitable. I'll sustain the objection this time, okay? Mr. Ronenborn, okay, thank you. Ms. Myers, Mr. Depp, I would like to take you back to exactly 6 weeks prior to this week, the week of May 21st through May 27th, 2016. What happened in the beginning of the week? Answer, May 21st? Excuse me, May 20th. May 20th. We're talking 2016 here? Yes. May 20th, the afternoon of May 20th, afternoon, evening, my mom made her exit. She's been fighting cancer numerous times and for many years. She fought all the way to the end. And so my mother passed away on the 20th of May. Which does bring instant perspective to one's mind. I spoke Amber that night, called her on the telephone, explained to her that my mom had passed, that Betty Sue had passed, and that I felt the best thing we could do was to, objection, Your Honor, hearsay, what Mr. Depp told Ms. Heard. Ms. Myers, we can move on, Your Honor. The court. Okay, yes, ma'am. Mr. Depp, what happened at the end of that week on May 27th, 2016? May 27th, my daughter's birthday. May 27th, I was not in Los Angeles. I was on the way on tour. That was when Miss Heard went for the restraining order. And oh yeah, also the day of the Alice Through the Looking Glass, a film I had done, was opening. Did Miss Heard know that you were out of town on May 27th? Yes. And how would she have known that? Well, I told her I was going on tour. I mean, that was well established. How long were you going to be out of town on the tour? 2 to 3 months. And does Miss Heard know how long you've been out of town? I don't know if she knew exactly how long I'd be out of town, but it was a pretty extensive tour of Europe. How did Miss Heard's actions on May 27, 2016 affect you? Changed everything. Mr. Roddenborn, objection, Your Honor, relevance. The witness, oh, it didn't change everything? Mr. Roddenborn, to this lawsuit. The court, sir, if you can please wait until the objection, please. The witness, I'm sorry. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, this is one of the key, if you want to approach, sidebar. How they're trying to bootstrap what she said on May 27 to the lawsuit. How what she did on May 27 affected him. That's not relevant. Your Honor, this is one of the key dates in this, and this is the date that the alleged allegations essentially came out, and the allegations that we contend were republished in the op-ed that was published in 2018. The op-ed is understood against the backdrop of what happened on May 27th. Mr. Roddenborn, this isn't a republication case, except their theory is that the tweet is a republication. But 2018, this is not a republication of 2016. That's not what this case is about. That's not the theory of the case. The law does not support that. That's not what the case is about. It's her repeating that we contend are false statements that she made 2 years prior to. Mr. Roddenborn, that's exactly the point I was trying to make when I walked up here. That's what they're trying to do. That's inappropriate. They're trying to get the jury to hold him. They're trying to get the jury to hold him, Ms. Myers. That's our theory of the case, Your Honor. I think we made it very clear. Mr. Roddenborn, liable for the traditionally immune statements that were made in 2016. Ms. Myers, I think we made it very clear that the op-ed is that the issue in this case is that defamatory statements are understood in the context of what happened in May of 2016. You need to get into relevance. The objection is relevant, says Judge Penny. Mr. Roddenborn, right. Because this case is about the statements made in 2018 and it's not the republication case, the jury cannot find Ms. Heard liable for the statements she made in 2016. That's exactly what Ms. Myers is trying to get to the jury to do this testimony. So therefore, how did it affect you is irrelevant. Yeah, Ms. Myers. Your Honor, I think that we've been very clear about what happened in May of 2016 when she made these statements public for the first time. Color how the op-ed was understood by the people. I think that's what happened on that date. The court, statements made in 2018 in context of 2016. Ms. Myers, well, our contention is that people understood the statements in the op-ed to be about Mr. Depp and to imply that he'd been physically abusive because there had been a media circus around Ms. Heard walking to the courtroom in May of 2016. Right? You can just ask those questions. That's not the question you just asked. I also think the objection for now. Mr. Roddenborn, I'll also ask Your Honor consider, I don't want to say in open court for obvious reason, but admonishing Mr. Depp the next time he makes the court, I just did. Mr. Roddenborn, oh, okay, I didn't hear that. The court, I did. Mr. Roddenborn, I didn't want to say that. Thank you. Johnny Depp being a smartass. Want to approach. Number 18. What is this one? This one is about the rebuttal witness. So they're going to argue back and forth about a rebuttal witness, something about the photographs being inauthentic. I don't think I need to read the whole thing because we're going to get into it in the other sidebars, I think. Okay. So this is about the metadata on the photos. Mr. Murphy says, Mr. Murphy is Amber Heard's attorney, by the way. Mr. Murphy, yes, I heard that Your Honor said that he can to the metadata. I would like to know what exactly that means because there's hundreds and hundreds of lines of metadata. And let me just say why this is important, Your Honor. I just read the brief because I was off researching their opposition. It talks about the metadata indicating the photo is 3. Your Honor, I have to say, Mr. Newmeister said in this report, literally, none of the photographs in Ms. Heard's, the court, you can cross-examine that. Mr. Murphy, it's not in evidence, Your Honor. He literally said they're not in trial exhibits, period. So how can he testify to that? The court, Mr. Murphy, we're going to see what happens with the testimony, but if you want to get the counsel during the lunch break and see exactly which photos he's talking to, about which one's going to testify to, Ms. Vasquez, the one that's in his report, Your Honor, part of the disclosure, the court, if you want to get with him, you can work on that. Mr. Murphy, who's my partner in that, Ms. Vasquez, Rebecca, Mr. Roddenborn, would it be possible to get an updated time? The court, you can get it from Sammy. Let's just announce it to everyone after lunch, okay? All right, all rise, bailiff. And now we're at Johnny Depp is being cross-examined by Mr. Roddenborn, and this is when, do you remember when Roddenborn confronts Johnny Depp with like these text messages? But I think they got it wrong. The text messages were not actually sent from Johnny Depp. It was actually sent to Johnny Depp, and I think no one actually realized that until, I don't know, maybe way later. Murphy, no, that was Nadelhoff. Dre says, was Murphy the one who objected to his own question? No, that was Nadelhoff. That's the one that people keep saying it looks like Roddenborn Jr. Okay. So Roddenborn says, he testified to Miss Myers that he would never commit sexual battery. He just testified to me, those words would never come out of my mouth. I would never say that. It's relevant and it's impeachment. Miss Myers, there's no foundation to what he's talking about here. The words sexual violence or assault are not in the text message. Mr. Roddenborn, Your Honor, the jury can draw inferences from what they want. Miss Myers, it's unclear what he's talking about. It's not, Mr. Roddenborn. I'm happy to admit the whole chain. I just figured every other time they wanted to redact those words. So, the court, do you want to see it unredacted in the context of the redirect? Miss Myers, I will like that opportunity, but I suspect I would like to admit it in redacted form. Mr. Roddenborn, I was just trying to do a favor, counsel. The court, it's impeachment to what he said, so I'll allow it. Thank you, Your Honor. So this is a text where... Which one? This one right here. Mr. Roddenborn was like, Mr. Depp, on February 22nd, 2017, you texted Mr. Deuters. Right, exactly. Molly's pussy is rightfully mine. Should I just not bust in and remove his hinges tonight? Did I read that right? Answer, you read that right. Yeah. Question. And the one beneath that, you say, I want to change her understanding of what it is like to be thrashed about like a pleading mackerel. And then in all caps, you write, I need, I want, I take. Did I read that right? Answer, you read it right, but I did not write that. Question, okay. Answer, perhaps some other. Question, you wrote every other text that you produced that came in from this litigation, didn't you? Answer, not necessarily. Sometimes you can give people your phone to people and they text. So if you look at the evidence, I believe it said it was sent to Johnny, not from Johnny. But I don't think anyone really caught it. Anyways, I don't think it was that important anyways. All right, now we're going to talk about the same photos, but two different edits. Oh, man. This is bad. All right, so Mr. Murphy says, the two photos in the video are not in evidence, Your Honor. The court, if they're not in evidence, it doesn't come in. Depp's attorney, Your Honor. Mr. Murphy, it's A-L blah, blah, blah. Ms. Rose, correct, but DX708 is, and it's the same photo. Mr. Murphy, it's visually the same photo, but it's not the same. Depp's attorney, it's consistent with your ruling, Your Honor. The court, I've already taken care of that argument. So what part of the video doesn't have a video? Depp's attorney, so he has a different version of the same photo, one that has been through a photo editor, the Photo 3 app, and one that does not indicate that it's been through Photos 3. It just shows back and forth between two versions of the photo. Mr. Murphy, and the basis of my objection is neither of these photos are in evidence. It's beyond the scope of Your Honor's ruling. I understand that. But again, they're showing I would absolutely object to it being admitted as exhibit at trial because they're not in evidence. I will still object as demonstrative, but I'm not sure if Your Honor's already going to rule against me or not because the photos are not in evidence. The court, but it's the same. It's the same depiction of a photo that's in evidence. It's just not. Depp's attorney, and I'm happy to pull up the defendant's exhibit that's on the same first. The court, all right, we'll see first. The court, I'll allow it, okay? Man, this is when they have to... Oh, hi, Dia. How are you doing today? Hi, Shakar. Yeah, hopefully we'll be done soon. And same photos, different edits. Yeesh. This is just some chatter from the lawyers, and it's just wholesome chatter, so I'm just going to read it. Ms. Vasquez. So a rebuttal witness is Dr. Gilbert. Dr. who? Gilbert. He's the hand surgeon. He can testify tomorrow morning first thing. He has a funeral today. We disclosed that we'll be testifying tomorrow. And with that, I don't know if you're going to count time against us. I mean, I would. Okay, well, that's what we have to do. Yeah. Your Honor, if I just may make a brief record with respect to Dr. Collins and then, okay. So first of all, we would like to request an opportunity to amend our designations to allow her to testify. Okay. And then do you want to do a proffer? We can do a proffer. Yes, you can do a proffer. I'm not going to allow her to testify just to testify. So you can just do a proffer. I don't want to count all the times, count and a half, but you're going to do a proffer. I'm not going to count that. Ms. Bredehoff, thanks. Ms. Myers, that's fair, Your Honor, the court. So do you want to do a proffer now? You can submit a written proffer if you want. We can do that now. I can add that. Let's go with Mr. Nadelhoff's, Mr. Chu, to the circular file. Ms. Myers, the other point we would make is I understood Your Honor's ruling with respect to comparing Ms. Hurd's testimony with the photographs, and would also like to request that Dr. Collins be limited to testify about the injuries reflected in the photographs that are in the evidence that are shown. All right, I understand. I'm going to sustain the objection. You have nothing further tonight. Ms. Vasquez, nothing further tonight. Dr. Gilbert, very short rebuttal witness. Tomorrow, the court. Just give me the final time so I can give them to them. As of right now, don't count the bench conference. Actually, going to add it to, is it 45? I'm sorry, Mr. Roddenborn, 52 minutes. The court, 51. We'll give you 51. 51 minutes to plaintiff sides. You have a lot of time. You've only got one more rebuttal, right? Mr. Chu, yes. Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I think you guys are out, right? Ms. Vasquez, that's called wishful thinking, Mr. Chu. The court, getting really close. Everyone's starting to get really giddy. Vasquez, nervous. Mr. Roddenborn, I think both sides are ready for each other to be done. The court, I'm very happy. I can't tell you how much. Ms. Vasquez, not that you don't love us. The court, I can't wait. Mr. Chu, at least you're not snarky. Ms. Vasquez, I don't think so. I haven't yet been accused of being snarky. Accused of a lot of things. Sammy, for the defendant, I think it's 1 hour, 16 minutes. Vasquez, I'm sorry. So this is them just counting up the time right now to see how much time both sides have. And then they're going to work on jury instruction. Oh, man. All right. So now we're doing a little bit more rebuttals. And I think, oh my God, this is actually pretty fucking long. I didn't think it was going to be this long. Okay. I think I can speed through this. All right. Sidebar number 1. So again, the sidebar, they are still talking about Dr. Moore, who testified for Amber Heard, and they want to have Dr. Gilbert to go up there and testify to be a rebuttal. I think the court says no, because I don't think we ever see them. Then we have the sketch artist was in trouble, and Ben Chu talks about Aquaman puzzles. So this part's kind of cute. Mr. Roddenborn says... Okay, so the court says, while you're still up here, just a couple housekeeping matters. The sketch artist yesterday was sketching the jury, so I have that now. Not going to do anything with it. I took it. She knows. She's been notified. She thought she could do it. She knows now she can. I went through public affairs of Fairfax County, then went back and told all sketch artists and photographers no pictures of the jury, and that's taken care of. One thing I don't think I ever put on the record is at the very beginning, the jurors asked if they can have jigsaw puzzles while they're waiting. And I said, okay, as long as they knew what they were for obvious reasons. And they've been doing a fish jigsaw puzzle, and they did a landscape jigsaw puzzle for lighthouses. And then I gave them one that was a Life is Good jigsaw puzzle. But I'm going to be taking all the jigsaw puzzles away from them. They've completed 2, and they were done with their 3rd. But I think they've had a team building exercise there. But I'm going to be taking them away from this afternoon, okay? I just want to put in the record. If you saw the jurors later and they're talking about jigsaw puzzles, I didn't think. Mr. Chu, as long as there's no Aquaman, the court, Aquaman or Pirates of the Caribbean, Mr. Chu, those were okay. The court, I just want to get that on the record in case you talk to the jurors and they start talking about jigsaw puzzles. Mr. Roddenborn, I hope they can finish the 3rd. The court, they've got about 50 pieces, so we'll see. Everyone says, thank you. Oh, like how Elaine did for Johnny Depp. She did a better JD impression than I did, I think. All right, now we have Dr. Hughes coming back on Zilstan. Dr. Hughes. Okay. 51 minutes. Miss Bredehoff, while we're up here, I'm going to call Dr. Hughes next. After that, can I take a quick break? The only other witness we're calling is Miss Heard, but she really has to go to the bathroom. The court, well, I'm going to assume that's going to be close. Miss Bredehoff, it'll be right after. Mr. Chu, I think she should wait. Mr. Chu. The court says, you would, Mr. Chu. Mr. Dennison, well, while we're up here and we're talking about Dr. Hughes, this is a rebuttal witness, right? Mr. Dennison, there's no direct evidence from any of our experts about IPV issues or risk factors on IPV. Okay. I just want to make sure. The court, the only thing she's going to rebut, she's going to be rebutting Dr. Curry, and Dr. Curry did testify on IPV, and she couldn't find IPV in the test results. She's going to say specifically she's going to respond specifically to Dr. Curry and nothing else. Just what Dr. Curry said in the evidence and rebuttal? Correct. On IPV? Correct. Just the factors? My issue is I didn't want another litany of IPV factors. Right. I don't think they have time for that. Ms. Bredehoff, we're short on time. Yeah. So I think Dr. Hughes, maybe she does better on the rebuttal and she might have memorized her notes this time. All right. So Elaine is during the direct examination of Dr. Hughes. I think we might have an objection. Dennison says there's no evidence, no disclosure in her initial disclosure, any of the subsequent disclosures, or about the diagnosis of borderline personality disorder or any other personality disorder by this witness. All she's doing is rebutting what Dr. Curry said yesterday. She's not doing anything from disclosure, and Your Honor allowed them to rebut the testimony to outside of that. She said specifically on this test. You remember the last time this witness testified, I objected. Excuse me, does this count against me on time? It kind of does, but go ahead. You remember the last time we were here with the witness? I objected to the borderline personality material as being outside the scope of the disclosure. She can't rebut anything she hasn't done herself. She can rebut anything Dr. Curry has done, okay? I'll sustain the objection. All right, thank you. Sidebar number 5, quick one. She explicitly said that Dr. Hughes misinterpreted her test results, right? She did. She answered that question, but then she went further. Now she wants to go into further and talk about borderline personality issue. I'll move on. Thank you. So I think Elaine is getting a little bit antsy because they are running short on time and they still have to get Amber Heard up on there after Dr. Hughes is done testifying. So at this point, we are wrapping up Dr. Hughes' testimony. Sidebar number 6, 7532. Sidebar number 6. Let's see. So sidebar number 6. Okay, so Elaine says, Dr. Curry suggested that you made a determination that just based on your personal opinion and just on the checklist, a couple of tests that you misinterpreted. Would you agree with that? Dr. Hughes says, I vehemently disagree with that. As I stated to you, over 29 hours and 12 psychological tests and reviewing a slew of documents in this case, most importantly, therapy records, collateral interviews with therapists, using all that data, that a solid forensic methodological exam looks like. And then I made my conclusion based on the clinical education, professional education, knowledge, and training to come with a professional expert opinion. Okay, just to make sure that you're reminded here, you are qualified in this court, in this case, as an expert in forensic psychology and specifically in domestic violence. And now I just lost it. And in the violence, correct? And in trauma, correct? Objection, Your Honor, misstates the record. If you want to ask again. Yeah, I probably should. You are qualified. I got to find my note. You are qualified as an expert in forensic psychology with specialty in domestic violence and trauma, correct? Correct. Okay. And that was in this case? That's correct. Okay. Now, do you hold the same opinions that you gave the juror earlier? Yes, I do. And do you still hold them within a reasonable degree of psychological probability and certainty? Yes, I do. Thank you. All right. So Mr. Dennison goes to a sidebar and he says, the witness suggested that her 29 hours was somehow valuable here. I was hopeful that I could ask whether she knew Dr. Curry has limited total number of hours that she was able to be misheard. I don't want to go into details, but Dr. Curry had a total of 12 hours, She's comparing her 29 hours to her. We're talking apples and oranges. Elaine. They asked for, in fact, it was 14. They asked for 14. We said yes. We agreed to the full amount they asked for. She wasn't limited. If she asked for 20, we probably would have agreed to that. If she asked for 29, we probably would have agreed to that. We agreed to what was asked for. Yeah, right. If they wanted 29 hours, I don't know, man. There'll probably be a fight. Court says, I'm not going to allow it. Mr. Bretterhoff, thank you. Mr. Dennison, thank you. You'll never see my eyes. Yeah, you will never see my eyes. Sidebar number 9. Elaine versus Dennison for Hughes. There's a redirect. Elaine does a redirect. What is this one? Skip this one. All right. Let's see. AH on the rebuttal stand. Direct examination by Mr. Roddenborn. Let's see what's going on here. Questionnaire, verdict form. Oh man, look at this. Look at all this time. It's just going by so fast. So fast. So at this point, I do want to mention this. So you guys notice this part right here? Amber Laura Heard has been previously sworn and was examined and testified as follows. Examination by counsel for the defendant and counterclaim plaintiff by Mr. Roddenborn. So I think because Elaine bombed the redirect, the cross-examination, the direct examination of Amber Heard, that they're like, you know what? Or maybe she wanted to be excused from it, but Elaine's not doing the redirect for Amber. It was Roddenborn who took over. So they must have all known that she fucked up severely and was like, okay, you know what, Elaine, you're going to have to take a sidestep and we're going to let Roddenborn handle the rest with Amber. Because if you guys notice, a lot of these witnesses If they handled you during the direct examination, then in the rebuttal, you have the same attorneys that's going to work with you, because that's like, each attorney is like assigned to a witness. But because, I don't know, Elaine fucked up the one with the Amber, they were like, okay, Elaine, you sit down and let's let Roddenborn do the rest. So we have Camille confronts, let's see, Roddenborn continues direct. Camille keeps objecting to non-responsive. So at this point, I don't think Amber's even listening to the questions that's being asked. I think she's just trying to get her side of the story in and have it into the record and let people hear. Because a lot of times Camille's objection is saying non-responsive, non-responsive, non-responsive. All right, what we got here? 75694. Mr. Roddenborn, what do you hope to reclaim after this is over? Amber, protecting the secret that I did for as long as I know. I've taken enough of my voice, has taken enough of my voice. I mean, Johnny has taken enough of my voice. I have the right to tell my story. I have the right to say what happened to me. I have the right to my voice and my name. He took it long enough. I have a right as an American to talk about what happened to me, to my own story and my truth. I have that right. I hope to get my voice back. It's all that I want. And I said that from day one. Mr. Roddenborn, thank you, Amber. I don't have anything else. Cross-examination. Camille Vasquez wants to approach, and she's going to say, Your Honor, my cross-examination is not limited to the scope of what, please let me finish, to what Ms. Hurd just testified. It's my position that it doesn't have to be. It's my cross-examination on the counterclaim, which includes the words like abuse hoax. I feel like I'm entitled, that I do want to approach and let you know before I start getting countless objections. I believe it's to the counterclaim. Oh, sorry. The court says it's to the counterclaim. Mr. Roddenborn, I think cross-examination has to be limited to my direct. This is rebuttal, Your Honor. The court, I understand, but your direct involved the counterclaim damages in the counterclaim, so she can go into the counterclaim. Mr. Roddenborn, she's already had her opportunity to cross her in the counterclaim. The way the case is set up is they put up their case in chief, we put up our defense too, and that our case in chief on the counterclaim. She's already had the chance to cross-examine her in that. This is why it's rebuttal. She shouldn't have a chance to retreat old ground that hasn't opened up in this examination. She's agreed to the chance. Ms. Vasquez, I disagree, Your Honor, because this is part of my defense to the counterclaim. So to that end, I believe that I should be entitled to the court. I'm trying to remember your rebuttal yesterday, Mr. Depp. Ms. Vasquez, it was not limited to the scope. Mr. Roddenborn, well, they opened the door. They questioned extensively. No, they did. They went back a lot. Australia, what Ms. Vasquez just said, this is our defense to the counterclaim. This was her cross for 2 days. This is our defense to the counterclaim and their rebuttal. Now, this is just like a rebuttal, just like Your Honor said, the closings. You told me at the pretrial conference, when you get up to do your last closing, it better be limited to that. Same thing. This has to be directed to my direct examination, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez, I disagree, Your Honor. Mr. Roddenborn, she had her chance in direct. The court, I agree. Your examination, or I understand, your examination was damages. Ms. Vasquez, right? The court, you agree this is about damages, how it affect you. Mr. Roddenborn, yeah, it's all damages related to the counterclaims. If there's relations to the talking about we don't have those damages, because you can get into that. She can't get into, including the abuse hoax. Mr. Roddenborn can't get into the evidence of whether it's a hoax or not. She has had 2 days, whatever, day and a half, the cross-examination. Your Honor sustained throughout the whole trial. Scope objections during cross-examination. So scope is limited to no. Yes, let me understand. She's had yeah, I understand. I'm trying to figure out what the scope can be. She said these are all damages I had. I think she's allowed to say, well, aren't your damages actually related to? She can point to that. Right. Fair. But if she's going to say, here, let's play the recording of you two. Let's talk about what happened on the island. Ms. Vasquez, this is about our rebuttal case. No. Oh, sorry. Court says, no, it's their rebuttal. Mr. Roddenborn, it's my rebuttal case. Ms. Vasquez, I'm just saying my examination. The court, you have to tie the rebuttal to the damages. You're saying this is a part of your damages. Well, isn't it true about this? Ms. Vasquez, right? The court, this is actually the reason those were damages and might be some other evidence that comes in. Ms. Vasquez, right? Mr. Roddenborn, what she wants to do, if she does, is to say that she hasn't suffered damages because she didn't commit a hoax. And if she's going to get into the facts, it's not appropriate. Ms. Vasquez, I disagree. Mr. Roddenborn, this is our rebuttal. See, she's confirming what she wants to do. She's had her chance. I disagree. The court, we can't go back. The defense is right about that. Ms. Vasquez, Elaine wasn't mad. She was a frazzled match. Did Depp and her go back to court? No. Hi, Christine Buckingham. How are you doing today? We're reading all the sidebars. So the sidebars is when the attorneys talk to the judge, and we didn't get to hear anything. And now they're in the transcripts. And yeah, we're just reading everything that's happening just to see what happens behind the scene. So Ms. Vasquez says, how about my rebuttal case that just came? May I just briefly, Your Honor? So we put the rebuttal case and included a new testimony to rebut Ms. Hurd's case in chief. I believe I can ask her if certain testimony evidence that came in for rebuttal relates to her counterclaims, which includes the words abuse hoax includes the word fake sexual violence. This is her case. They're interrelated. The court. Now, we're just in rebuttal evidence. Ms. Vasquez. But it's related to the counterclaims, Your Honor. I believe I can cross-examine her on the counterclaim statements. The court. I understand that, but this is based on rebuttal. It's only rebuttal to her defense and damages right now. That's all. They're rebutting in their case. They're rebutting your case as far as damages. It's hard, but it's a defense. So you put on the evidence and she was damaged by whatever else issues, right? And the other occurrences, so she can do other issues or other things that's happened that affected her damages and not these statements. The court, Mr. Ronenborn, they cannot. The court, they can't. But what Camille is saying, she wants to get into things like the testimony from yesterday, Beverly Leonard or TMZ. Yes, because it relates to the damages. Mr. Ronenborn, it doesn't. Camille, yes, it does. These are stories out there. I let you finish. I'm sorry. I should have addressed her. This is my rebuttal. They finished in their case yesterday. My view is going to those things that they ended their claim, which is don't relate to those counterclaims. Those are just related to smearing Ms. Heard. That's not appropriate for neither side at this point. It's certainly not appropriate for her to go into. If they want to go into, they weren't damaged. The court, she did testify that these statements are the reasons that she was damaged. Right. Mr. Ronenborn, the counterclaim statements. The counterclaim statements. So if they want to say that these statements weren't true, Ms. Vasquez, isn't it true that, right, or isn't it true that what damaged you wasn't the counterclaim statements? It was Beverly Leonard's testimony, and the other things that happened being publicized. The court, in the rebuttal, opening the damages, she did testify that I just want Johnny to leave me alone. I mean, she did testify to more than just damages, which was objected to. I didn't stop it, but she did testify to more than that. She was saying these statements. And then she said her testimony in the trial, Your Honor, so she opened it up, Mr. Ronenborn. And I'm glad we're up here because Ms. Vasquez is making clear she wants to go into testimony throughout the whole trial. Ms. Heard testified on direct for a day and a half. I don't know. Ms. Vasquez got to cross-examine her all and all that. This is what we're going to do, okay? You're going to limit to just whatever evidence from your rebuttal case. Understood. That's the only thing I tended to do. The court, we're not going to go back and rehash anything that we did back before. Correct. Just in the rebuttal case. Even though that, Your Honor, they rested. So they rested the court. You put her on the stand. Mr. Ronenborn, I did. But you're right. I didn't ask her about Seattle. That's totally inappropriate for them to, based on my questioning, that Mr. Vasquez gets to go and ask what Miss Beverly Leonard testified to, or what Morgan Tremaine, the TMZ guy, testified to. That affects her damages. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. There's stories out there. She just said, Mr. Ronenborn, something happening in 2009 is going to affect what happened in 2020. It's already been down the road. They've already asked these questions. Ms. Vasquez, now, since Miss Leonard testified, she's asked her about Seattle. You've already been very carefully limited. I'm not going to talk about a police officer or arrest. I would never do that. No, you prescribed the questions she could ask. She answered them already. That's fair enough. Let's talk about Seattle. Understood, Your Honor. I will take them out. The court. What else do you have in your rebuttal case? TMZ, I assume? Yeah, TMZ, Hicksville. That's fine. TMZ, yes. Hicksville, because of the one guy saying that but the damages in the trailer. The damages in the trailer. Yes. I mean, that's fine. I still think it's inappropriate. Kate Moss. Oh, sorry. Camille Vasquez. Kate Moss. The stair story has been publicized all over the world. We finished that, Your Honor. She testified it was a rumor. Kate Moss got on the stairs and said that he didn't push her down the stairs. I'll allow that. Go ahead. Thank you, Your Honor. May 21, the photographs that her expert today, May 21, the photographs that were taken at the exact same time, the exact same second. Mr. Ronenborn, she asked her, hold on, please. Taken the exact same time and the exact same second. She said that she only turned on one vanity light. I feel I'm entitled to ask her about that. This is exactly why the internet, according to Mr. Depp, is questioning her testimony. The court, she did bring up the internet. Ms. Vasquez, she did. Mr. Ronenborn, no. The court, she did bring up the internet. She talked about the testimony in this case. She talked about the damages being from this case. Your Honor, I think it's fair game. Mr. Ronenborn, so the question, May 21st, Your Honor, May 21st is so far attenuated from what is limited. She's had the chance to cross her. She put the two pictures in front of Ms. Heard already. Not with the metadata, and not after the expert testified that they're in different pictures. Uh-oh. The court, I'm not going to allow the pictures. I think you're right about that. Mr. Ronenborn, you're not going to? The court, I'm not going to allow the pictures. Ms. Vasquez, so no pictures of Mr. Neumeister? No. There's a discrepancy, Your Honor. She testified the same photograph relates to two different incidents. She did not. Ms. Vasquez, yes, she did. There's a picture of a wine bottle inside one of the penthouses, actually. She previously testified as it related to the May 21st incident. When she's on the stand, she tells Ms. Bredehoff in redirect it's the same photo from a different incident. Ah! Oh, no. Ay, ay, ay. When you lie and you forget what you lied about, it's hard to keep track of your lies. Oh, my God. I'm going to use the bathroom really quick before I pee my pants. Okay, bathroom on 2 minutes. my camera, Shiro. Huh? You mess up on my camera. Okay, Shiro's in here now. Ichiro! Okay, sorry, guys. Oh, dude. Poor Amber used the same photo for different incidents. Yeesh. What? I'm still giggling from the comment the other day about Spiegel being Elaine's. Oh, okay. I thought that was in the transcript. No, someone in my chat said that. Okay, all right. Let's do this. We are almost done, y'all. Almost done. Okay. Roddenborn says she did not. Ms. Vasquez, yes, she did, Your Honor, and I'll show it to Ms. Heard. Mr. Roddenborn, she didn't. Ms. Vasquez, there are reasons that the internet, if you want to call them sleuth spots, I don't care what you call them. People on the internet and social media says that she claims to damage her career at the direction of Mr. Depp. There's a reason. It's because there's inconsistencies with her story. She did bring up social media. She what? She did bring up the social media. What are the boundaries, though? That Miss Vasquez gets to show stuff that's all going to be hearsay. She didn't bring it up in hearsay. She just referenced the threats that she got. That's very different than Miss Vasquez having those people who are paid. Oh, God, we're all paid. Pay me, Johnny Depp, pay me. Miss Vasquez. Harassment, threats, calling her a liar. Mr. Roddenborn. So what is Miss Vasquez supposed to do? Show her these internet sleuths? No, of course not. Just the discrepancies in her story, Your Honor, that I submit is actually what's causing the damage in her career. It's not her PTSD. It's not Waldman's statements. She talked about PTSD also. Right. It's not the Waldman statements. It's the discrepancies in her stories that people are calling her out on. Yes. Camille saying the truth right there. That's what damaged her career. It's her. Not everyone else. Not Johnny Depp. Mr. Roddenborn. She's trying to use this as an end run to get in what you've asked the jury not to check for the last 6 weeks, which I'm not sure. The court, she said it. Mr. Roddenborn, she said she got threats. Ms. Vasquez, she said a lot more than that. She said my testimony in this case, Mr. Roddenborn, does not open the door. The court, it opens quite a bit, Mr. Roddenborn. See, I was so surprised too when Amber Heard was up there testifying and then she started talking about the internet and people judging her on social media. I was like, what the fuck? She's allowed to testify about all of this? I wonder if Elaine and Roddenborn told her not to and she did anyways. Or maybe they didn't warn her. Okay. Mr. Roddenborn. Okay. Oh, sorry. The court says it opens quite a bit, Mr. Roddenborn. Mr. Roddenborn. Okay. But it doesn't open to just an unfettered right to say all of these things that are out there that are just false by people who haven't heard any of the evidence. By people who haven't heard any evidence. I feel like this case was such highly researched and all the evidence was out there. It's like, people who keep saying, oh, they didn't have access to evidence. Oh, they didn't look at everything. No, come on, we did. I mean, there are people who probably just watched like bits and clips from like maybe bites from the trial. But a lot of us, come on, we watched like the whole thing unfold and it was just a shit show. The court, then why did she bring it up? She did. So anything that's tied to damages, we're not going about 2009, anything that's tied to damages. Right. I'm not going to allow her to do it. I just think that we have a disagreement with damages because Ms. Vasquez appears to be wanting to question her about the whole case. Now, I have a few topics only raised in our rebuttal case, just raised in the rebuttal. My entire examination is based on the rebuttal case. We're not going to do the police officer. I'm not going to go to Beverly Leonard. Am I allowed to go into Kate Moss? I'm sorry, I lost track when I was. And the reason, Your Honor, is because Mr. Depp testified yesterday that he told Ms. Heard about this incident. I'll allow that. I think I already allowed that. Thank you. TMZ, we're doing. I'm not going to do the Brian Neumeister in the pictures. May 21st, the fact that ties into TMZ and the publicist was there. That's fine. At the courthouse, the wine picture, like I said, the notes and the discrepancy. All right. And just the people that tested in rebuttal. I have a brief line of questioning, 10 questions of that. Do you want to repeat who those are? Hicksville? I'm not going to talk about Miss Leonard. Hicksville, TMZ, no issues. Experts. I'm not talking about Brian Neumeister to direction. All right. Okay, I had a question. This went viral, Your Honor. Isaac Baruch testifying and crying and weeping about what Miss Heard did to him and did to Mr. Depp. I think that's fair game. Mr. Roddenborn, that's 5 weeks ago. The court, I'll allow it. Damages issue. Okay, I don't know how much time you have left, Mr. Roddenborn. You had 23 when you came up here. Ms. Vasquez, we're splitting this up equally. Mr. Roddenborn, I would just say for the record, I think they rested their case. I think it's inappropriate to go beyond what was direct and maybe a couple more minutes. I'll find out and Sammy will email you. Oh my God, they're so nervous, dude. They're running out of time. Okay, this is where we get to the juice. Camille confronts AH with using the same photo for different incidents. And then Roddenborn and Camille will agree to something. Don't we like it when lawyers agree? Isn't it so nice when people get along? 7, 6, 14, 11. Okay. Camille asks, and do you see what your testimony reflected in May 21st, 2016? Answer, yes. And that follows? Yes. Now let's turn to page 4804 at line 14. 4804, starting at line 14. Yes. Through 805, line 4. Go through what? Line 4 at 805, 4805. Do you see that you're testifying the defendant's exhibit 725, which is reflected on the right side, reflects spilled wine on the floor in penthouse 5? That's correct. And the defendant's exhibit 512, 725 seems to be different versions of the same picture, don't they? That's correct. Okay, so which is it? Which one was taken on December 15th, 2015 or May 21st, 2016? If you remove the redacted metadata, you can find out. It's right there. It's so funny how she doesn't want to answer the question. Answer the question. Or if you're telling the truth, you would know. Recognize a portion of spilled wine on the floor, and I'm supposed to know off the top of my head when you lived through 5 years of this stuff? I don't think so. That's not how that works. Okay. Thank you, Tom. Ms. Heard, at the beginning of your cross-examination last week, Your Honor, may we approach? Your Honor, the snickering from the gallery is extremely distracting. I totally agree with Mr. Roddenborn. It's inappropriate. There's someone sitting in the aisle. I believe it's my side. Do you know who it is? I think it's the blonde lady in the third row. And just generally speaking, I agree with Mr. Roddenborn. I'm going to admonish them. We can agree on that. Yeah, looking at us, getting along, what I'll do is I'll admonish the gallery. Do you want to skip back? It's safe to be seen. Like Camille is just poking at Mr. Roddenborn. Oh, man. Could you imagine Camille Vasquez and Mr. Roddenborn skipping back together to their tables? Now they're just being silly. I feel like the Ben Chu silliness does rub off on the rest of his associates. She says, do you want to skip back? A sight to be seen. The court. All right, what I'll do is I'll admonish the gallery right now. Tell them if I hear another word, I'll just clear the gallery for the rest of the testimony. Ms. Vasquez, I have only 5 minutes left, Your Honor. The court. I'll take care of it. Court says, ladies and gentlemen in the gallery, I would ask there be no words, no phrases, no words, no sounds at all coming from you. If I hear one sound, I will clear the gallery and will continue this testimony without anybody in the courtroom. Understood? Good. Okay, they get along. Last day, May 27th, we've got, oh my God, closing arguments day. Okay, we're almost done. Dude, Ben Chu gets really spicy during these sidebars. He calls Spiegel a wackadoodle, and he accuses Elaine of lying multiple times to the jury, and he says this directly to Judge Penny. So we got arguments going on today. Ben Chu's doing a closing argument, and Mr. Roddenborn is going to object. So let's see what Ben Chu says. 778417. Ben Chu says, before Amber Heard, ladies and gentlemen, no woman before Amber Heard ever claimed that Mr. Depp raised her hand to her in his 58 years. And no other woman since Ms. Heard made the false claim back on May 17th, May 27th, 2016, and has repeated to her December 2018 op-ed. Has any woman come forward since? This is #MeToo without any #MeToo. To the contrary, ladies and gentlemen, you heard Kate Moss 2 days ago testify. This is a woman who has never testified to any proceedings ever in a private person. A very private person, testified that Mr. Depp never abused her and that Ms. Heard lied to you. She lied to you twice when she told you. Objection, Your Honor. You want to approach? Sure. Mr. Roddenborn absolutely misstates the evidence. That's way beyond argument. You didn't let him ask that question of Ms. Moss. Mr. Chu, when she suggested twice that she stairs, but it was involving the stairs. Correct. That's what I'm going to say. That's what he was going to say. Okay. Open court. All right, now Elaine tries to get the UK judgment in again. Elaine, trying to be sneaky. Elaine tries to get the UK judgment in again. All right, Elaine says, the first of those, Your Honor. Wait, sorry. Okay, so what's your issue? The first of those is we believe the arguments on the damages and the restoring their reputation has opened the door for the UK judgment. No, definitely not. Evidence is done. Okay, Your Honor, the second thing is I just saw, while Mr. Chu was arguing, I think we made a mistake in both verdict forms. On the last, I think you'll appreciate it as well. Sorry, Judy, last day. You're going to have to take Judy's mic out. She's never going to forgive me. I wonder what is Elaine doing with Judy's mic? Is she like yanking onto Judy's mic or something to talk to the judge? Because this has been a couple times that Judge Penny has talked about Elaine possibly fucking up Judy's mic or something. I don't know. What was Elaine doing with the microphones, man? Elaine says, she's never going to forgive me. I believe this word should be any instead of all. I think requires to find all three. Okay, so you want us to change the last page. So if you answer yes to all the questions, to be any, no, all the questions, well, and all in the questions in 1, all the questions in 2, all the questions in 3, or Mr. Roddenborn, 1, 2, 3, 4, the court. You see what I'm saying? I can explain that to them if you want. Ms. Bredehoff, I think that would be helpful. At the end, I'll explain that to them. That means you have to answer all the questions because I think it works. You created the form, right? Mr. Roddenborn, yes. So I'm correct, right? Yes, that's correct. The or. I'll explain to them, make sure we have it right. Thank you, Your Honor. Did you want to break into that too? Ms. Vasquez, I don't think so. It's still on, so it's a good thing. Mr. Chu, keep laughing. It's my fault. All right, so they're going to take a little breaky. Now we have Elaine doing her closing argument. And Elaine, I'm going to back it up a little bit for Elaine. Elaine says, the first one's come, and we've talked about it. We've shown you the pictures. The police officers admitted that those pictures could very much have had what was there that night. Remember Officer Haddon? It was his first week on the job. Officer Science was 3 years on the job at that point. They say, they tell Josh that if she will press charges, if she'll give them a name, we can file a report and make an arrest. She wouldn't do it. You did hear from Detective Sadanaga. That's a domestic violence. Objection, Your Honor. May we approach, Your Honor? Says Mr. Chu. Mr. Chu says, she blatantly misstated the testimony of the police officer. The police officer said there's no sign of injury. There was no arrest. She needs to correct that. Josh Drew testified that the police officer told him she's got a mark on her face. That's property damage, The court, was that in evidence? Yes, that was. Mr. Chu, no, it's not, Your Honor. Ms. Bredehoff, no, it did make it into evidence. Mr. Chu, the police officer said there's no sign of injury. The court, well, I know the police officer. She just said Josh Drew. Ms. Bredehoff, no. Josh Drew. Josh Drew's came in. It came in. Mr. Chu, I don't believe that's correct, Your Honor. The court, I know what the police officer said. It came in through Josh Drew. The court, well, I'll allow it. Go ahead. We'll correct that. Oh, Mr. Chu said, we'll correct that. Now, Ben Chu straight up accuses Elaine of lying. Oh, man. Okay, so Ben Chu is accusing her of lying. Lying about what? Elaine says, 7906. Okay, Elaine says, now let's go to the third one. Oh, let's talk about the makeup just for a moment while we're going to the third one. This makeup thing, the fresh face, natural. These were Adams Waldman planting these when he talked to the ECB people. Remember the testimony here? Did you talk to Mr. Waldman? Did you talk to Mr. Waldman? Mr. Waldman was trying to plant in all these people's minds. Mr. Chu, objection, Your Honor. Ms. Bredehoff, that somehow she wasn't. The court, if you can approach. Mr. Chu, she's completely misstating the testimony here. I don't agree. She just is. I don't agree. None of them said that they were planted by Mr. Waldman. They all said this is a truthful statement. She's just lying. I'm not lying, Your Honor. She is lying. Well, no. We asked specifically about Adam Waldman. Your Honor will recall that. And they said that I don't remember. Yes, I did talk to him. Right, but nobody said that he planted these statements. No, I didn't, and I didn't say that he planted it. You just said that. I accused him of planting it. If you could just clear that up. Okay, thanks. What did she say, actually? She said, these were, this makeup thing, the fresh face natural. These were Adam Waldman planting these when he talked to the ECB people. He literally did say that. She literally did say that. Man, the judge has such a good memory. I feel like if I was ever a judge, that'd be so hard to remember what everyone's saying and to get it all right. Jesus. Whew. All right, Elaine. Ben again accuses of Elaine of lying again. All right. Ben. He is on fire today. The court. Sidebar number 5. 7, 9, 10, 17. Okay. Elaine says, now, obviously, the defamatory meaning of that is Amber's creating an abuse hoax. But there's no abuse hoax. I don't need to tell you of all the evidence because Ben did a beautiful job of just taking you through all of those different things. But I will point out a couple things for you. And that's, remember Bonnie Jacobs, the therapist, Dr. Hughes, Dr. Spiegel testified of Bonnie Jacobs' notes. And remember I was holding that. You don't get to see them, but they're testified that they went through them. Dr. Hughes testified that she also spoke to Bonnie Jacobs. She kept contemporaneous notes from 2011 when she started seeing Amber and the abuse documented in those notes. Is what Dr. Hughes testified that they started in 2012, both physical and sexual abuse. And you know the thing was, remember how Amber Heard went back on the stand and was like, hey, actually, you know what? I forgot that the first abuse that happens to you, you'll never forget it. But I just actually forgot, and I went through the doctor's notes, and I just remembered that the abuse actually happened a lot earlier. All right, so Ben Chu says, objection, Your Honor. Ms. Bredehoff, Dr. Hughes testified to that. Mr. Chu, may the court says approach. Court says, yes, sir. Mr. Chu, she keeps misstating. She continues to lie to the jury. No, I'm not. I'm definitely not misstating that one. She continues to lie and misstate the evidence. Which lie do you say there? That was not in the testimony. Oh, it was. It absolutely was. It was not. Well, what do you believe was the testimony? Dr. Hughes testified that Bonnie Jacobs' notes documented both physical and sexual abuse. She also said she talked to her and confirmed that was the first day of her testimony. I just don't have the transcript, so I'm not sure. Mr. Chu, that's not accurate, Your Honor. She continues to do this. He can argue whatever he wants, but that's absolutely what she said. She can't lie to the jury like that. And then I asked Dr. Curry about that. What was in the notes, whatever. I know she reviewed the notes, but what was in the notes? Did that come into evidence? Mr. Chu, no, it did not. No, Mr. Chu. Mr. Chu, no, it did not. Ms. Bredehoff, yes, well, the court. I'm not sure the notes. Characterization of it, not the actual notes did. Characterization? Ms. Bredehoff, characterization. Dr. Hughes said these things were in the notes. Her characterization of them? Characterization of them, right. That's not actually in her notes. Mr. Chu, correct. Ms. Bredehoff, no. She said that Mr. Chu, she needs to correct that. She continues to lie to the jury. Ms. Bredehoff, she said the notes reflected physical and sexual abuse. She said that. That was her testimony. She did. That is not in evidence, Your Honor. I don't recall that. She absolutely did. She absolutely did. The court. You can use that she characterized it as such. I don't know that you can actually say that it was actually in there. Mr. Chu, yeah, she misstated that to the jury. No, I have not misstated. Yes, you did. Ms. Bredehoff, I have not submitted my testimony at all. It's very important evidence from us because we can get those notes, and we tried several times. She's saying it in the evidence when it's not. She's saying it's in evidence when it's not. The court. Well, she did characterize the evidence. You can say characterize the notes. Ms. Bredehoff, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bredehoff. So Dr. Hughes specifically characterized Dr. Bonnie Jacobs' notes reflecting both contemporaneous physical abuse and sexual abuse throughout the time period. Dr. Spiegel confirmed that later and said the same. When I asked Dr. Curry if she had reviewed those notes, she said yes, but she had not commented. Mr. Chu, Your Honor, objection. Ms. Bredehoff, and she did not acknowledge that it was there. The court, all right. Mr. Chu, Wackadoodle Spiegel did not say that. And it's funny how Elaine doesn't even dispute this because she knows that, she probably knows that Wackadoodle Spiegel was a good name for him. Mr. Chu says, Wackadoodle Spiegel did not say that. The court, Dr. Spiegel didn't say that. Mr. Chu, could you please correct that? Ms. Bredehoff, yes, he did. Mr. Chu, no, he didn't. The court, he said he reviewed her notes, but he didn't say anything. He didn't characterize her. Elaine, I just said he confirmed. The court, but he didn't confirm. He just said, I reviewed the notes and said nothing about that. Dude, they're so fucking desperate. They're trying to get in this fucking notes thing. And they're like, I don't know. Elaine's just literally just making up people's testimonies at this point. I don't know, just making shit up. It's in the evidence. No, it's not. Okay, it's not in the evidence. This is some desperation here. All right, Elaine says, I just said he confirmed. The court, but he didn't confirm. He just said, I reviewed her notes and said nothing about that. Mr. Chu, would you please ask her to retract that? The court, I will. So Elaine retracts it, and I don't know if she actually does a good job at retracting it. Next is sidebar 7. Something about pledge versus donations. continue till, oh, this might be all right, 11. Is this still Elaine? All right, I think this is still Elaine. Now, we have the plaintiff's exhibit 936 in evidence. Look at page 69. It says how much he made in 2015. It was $43 million. Remember, Mr. Spindler, Depp's expert, he said that he made $22 million in 2016. So if you got $65 million, Amber was entitled to at least $31.5 at least. That doesn't include all the take back ends from Pirates 5. She was entitled to that money, but she didn't need to say anything. She could have said, I don't like you anymore. I don't like the color of your hair. I'm going to divorce you. Indiscernible due to a cross-talking. Mr. Chu, Your Honor, we're going to object again. Mr. Chu, she's making legal conclusions. It's quite clear that Judge White had ruled very early in this case we're not litigating divorce here. She's telling the jury her legal opinions of California divorce law. Ms. Bredehoff, this is what Laura Wasser testified to. No, it's not. Listen, we can make this argument, Your Honor. You can make arguments if they're in evidence. Ms. Bredehoff, there are. Mr. Chu, no, they're not. Ms. Bredehoff, Laura Wasser, yes, they are. Laura Wasser and Michelle Maroney. I'm sorry, Your Honor, but this is going against our time because we've already had a tough time. Mr. Chu, you're already out of time. Oh, no. Ms. Bredehoff, I mean, he's already done this 3 times. Okay. The court, we won't count the sidebars. Ms. Bredehoff, thank you. Mr. Chu, Your Honor, it's not in the evidence. Ms. Bredehoff, it is. You wouldn't let that into evidence. Oh, I absolutely got that in. Mr. Chu, we did a whole deposition designation. It was ruled very early in this case. We're not relitigating the divorce case. I'm 100% certain that. And she's wrong on that lawsuit too. Ms. Bredehoff, it's in Laura Wasser's. It's in the Michelle Maroney's. Laura Wasser was at no fault in the community property in here. Michelle Maroney has a community property in there. I know. I heard about the community property. She's saying she's entitled to 31.25. I mean, it's ridiculous. Ms. Bredehoff, right. And we put the tax returns in and Spindler testified to the amount. So you do the math. It's 31. So, but yeah, you do the math. Right. Mr. Chu, she's making, Ms. Bredehoff, but we even have acid and cross-examination in one of them, the 31.5. I mean, I'm entitled. She's telling the jury to make those arguments. A falsity about the application of California law. No, that doesn't take into the account it was elicited. Debts are assumed by Mr. Depp. No, Wasser, this is Judge White said very early on, we're not relitigating the divorce case. Ms. Bredehoff, no, you don't take into the account debt. The court, we're at the end of talking about the divorce. I'm near, yes. Okay, all right. Ms. Bredehoff, I'm doing the motivation here. The court, all right. Okay, I'm going to move on, but I'm entitled to that. I understand, but if you're going to do the calculations, you're going to let them know this is a mere inference from the evidence that's in. That's fine. And then we'll go on from there, okay? Thank you, Your Honor. Elaine wasn't listening to Judge Penny about sidebars. Okay, how did Elaine fuck this up now? Let's see. Elaine, sidebar number 9. Where is this? We won't cut the sidebars. Okay. Oh, this is just a quick little convo. All right. The court says, and just for the record, plaintiffs have 39 minutes left for the rebuttal. Defendants have 6 minutes. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bredehoff, Your Honor, can we just get those back from the sidebars? The court, I didn't take any time from the sidebars. 0 off the sidebars. It's all from testimony. So you remember earlier how Judge Penny says that she wasn't going to take any time from the sidebars? Elaine wasn't listening. Elaine don't like to listen, okay? Elaine just off in her own la land. Okay, so this is the last day. This is actually 2 days later when the jury finally came back in with the verdict. So we have sidebar number 1. Really not too much going on. So the jury deliberated for, how long did it deliberate for? Was it like 9 hours or something? 7, 9 hours? You guys remember? And remember how the jury brought in the verdict stuff, and then they had to go back because they didn't actually put the number on there. So this is just the part where Judge Penny makes a comment on that. All right, sidebar number 1. Our last sidebar, guys. This is our last sidebar. Shall we celebrate? The court says, on one of the forms, they found for defamation statement, but they didn't put in anything down for compensatory nor for punitive damages. So I need to instruct them that since they found for at least one of the statements, they need to put that down. Now I can either write it down or they can I can just tell them and send it back. Mr. Chu, tell them. Ms. Bredhoff, I just tell them. Mr. Chu, I think you just tell them. The court, I'm just going to tell them that they have to, on the last page, they find defamatory statements on the last statement. They had to put an award compensatory damages of at least $1, and they have to either put 0 or number in for punitive damages. Elaine, right. The court, does that sound fine? Does that sound appropriate? Mr. Chu, that's fine, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez, that's fine, Your Honor. Everyone says fine, thank you. And that's it. That's it for the sidebars, y'all. We're done with all the sidebars. 27 days of sidebars. 27 days of sidebars. Well, actually, I guess it's 26 days because I didn't read the sidebars for the jury day, though. I guess I should have read that. Day 1 was when they did the jury questionnaire and all that stuff. I didn't read it, but it was mostly just juries just giving them excuses why they can't attend jury duty. That's about it. And yeah, we're at the very end. All right, so what do we learn from the sidebars? What did we truly learn? Did Elaine perform better behind closed doors? Did she just fumble up when it was in front of the cameras, in front of everyone? No, I think she did worse than the sidebars. Okay, the sidebars with Elaine was just it just showed what a true mess that she was. Ay, what a true mess. But you know what? I'm sure this was a huge learning experience from her, and all the stuff that she learned from this case, dealing with Judge Penny, dealing with exquisite lawyers on the other side. I hope she'll take that and she'll learn and she'll be a better lawyer in the future, But we're at the end. Oh my God, we're doing the sidebars. Jesus. Okay. All right, guys. I was going to talk about the, I'm going to skip this. I was going to talk about the donations and all that because I forgot that Elaine was Amber's lawyer back in the day when the UK thing was happening. Remember during the UK trial, the verdict came out. Justice Nichols sided with the Sun, the newspaper company, and said that there's no way that Amber Heard could have been, doing a hoax because she donated her $7 million settlement. And when Johnny Depp's team came out, was like, hey, we don't think she donated the money. Like, we want to appeal this. There's no way that she donated the money. And then it was Elaine that came out and said, oh, Johnny Depp and his team, they're just bringing up the divorce settlement and the fact that she didn't donate because they're just trying to sidetrack from the verdict that came out, blah, 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 blah. But then it actually was leaked that she didn't donate her full amount, that she only pledged and she donated like a little tiny bit to some of the, I think it wasn't really even her donating. I think it was like Elon Musk that did the donations, but it was Elon Musk that donated. It was like not even close to the $7 million at all. But, oh man, I just wanted to, it was Elaine that came out, attacking Johnny Depp and his team. And look at this. All this just came crashing down in her face, man. I don't know. I wonder how many times her client lied to her. How many times did her client lie to her? And then they had to scramble behind the scenes and try to fucking fix everything. I just felt like there's so many times where she probably lied to the lawyers and she threw her lawyers under the bus. Remember how she kept saying that, like, oh, there's pictures of my nose being fucked up from, this one time that Johnny hit me. And Camille was like, that's not an evidence. And she's like, well, I gave it to my lawyers. I don't know. My lawyers. I don't know. And then Elaine's like, I don't know what picture she's talking about. I mean, there's plenty of pictures here, but I don't know which one. So fucking crazy. Fucking wild. All right, y'all. That's about it for today's stream. If you guys missed any parts of today's stream, I will have this in the stream that will be available. And then I will probably just re-upload it and try to take out any like side conversations or like usually the beginning and stuff like that. But anyways, yeah, I know towards the end, Elaine was probably just like, what the fuck was this? What did I agree to? So I'm sure she's probably a lot happier now. She's probably, she's no longer Amber's lawyer. And I'm sure she's going to live her best life. Okay. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out. Appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for having me in the background. If you guys are multitasking, thanks for chatting. I appreciate that. Here are my socials, Instagram. I also stream on Twitch as well. If you want to stop by, say hi. I play video games on there. I've been playing Baldur's Gate lately, and it's so fucking good. It's so good. But when I'm done with Baldur's Gate, I do want to watch like true crime docs on there. So if you guys want to join, feel free and join the Discord if you guys want to. This is the Discord. We have a true crime section. You can post in there or post cute pictures of your pets, and notifications are on there as well. Also, have your notifications on. All right, guys. If there's any like true crime story that you guys want me to cover, let me know. I think I kind of want to cover one. I want to do some like background research on one and kind of just like cover it. Not like all court documents and court footages and stuff like that, but like I actually want to just like, I don't know, just cover a story from beginning to end. But I don't know which one to cover. If you have any recommendations, let me know. The best part was when Baby Rodamort acted like he was looking the papers before. That's probably one of my favorite edits. That's probably one of my favorites. Where like Amber Heard was hugging everyone. He's like, please don't notice me. Oh God, please don't. I know, it's just really funny. Anyways, I hope you guys have a good one. Take care. I will see you guys later. And just quick update. Brian Koberger has waived his right for a speedy trial. So remember how I was saying that I don't know. I feel like Koberger's and Sarah Boone's, they're both scheduled for October 2nd. I felt like it wasn't going to happen. It was like, it felt way too soon. There's too much going on with the Koberger stuff, too much going on with the Sarah Boone stuff, drama with her lawyers. So Koberger has waived his right to a speedy trial. So we don't know when the trial is going to happen. And then Sarah Boone, I don't know if the lawyer responded. If the judge responded yet. But Sarah Boone's sixth attorney has asked to withdraw, and he basically told her to just be your own fucking attorney, represent yourself, which I thought was really snarky, and I was surprised he wrote that in a court document. Let me see if they responded. Sarah Boone, really quick. Let's find out. Sarah Boone. Let's see. Notice of hearing, motion to withdraw. We haven't got a response by the judge yet. But yeah, if you guys want to update on Sarah Boone, video was posted a couple days ago. Koberger, waived his right to a speedy trial. So we'll see what's going on. There was an update I saw that he wants to have something dismissed, but we'll see. DB. I don't know. Maybe Sarah. I was gonna say Sarah Brooks. Sarah Brooks. No. So maybe Sarah Boone will start building like a fort of boxes or something. I don't know. Anyways, y'all. I hope you guys have a great one. Take care. I will see y'all later. Thank you so much for joining us for the sidebar stuff. Have a great one. All right. That's about it. I'm gonna go eat. I'm starving. I'm so hungry.